And here we go. Welcome into the High Noon Rant. I am Pugs Moran. We do this every day, Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. noon. Let's check out the chat room first. Taronda, she was in first. Hi, Taronda. Hi, peeps, she says. Peter's here. Hi, Peter. Great supporter of the show all these years, Peter. Byron's here. Great supporter of this show just recently. Byron, thank you. Okay, we'll get to April. All right, everybody's coming in the chat room. That's what this show is. This show is me, a middle-aged, fairly stable. I'm not going to say I'm unstable. I'm economically unstable, but I am otherwise in this very mixed up, crazy world, pretty stable. I'm a middle-aged, stable white man screaming into an internet stream every day at noon about the world. Now, what do you mean the world? Well, I try to give you a nice little cheat sheet for all the things that you should know about this day. We go through hot topics, pop culture, big breaking news, headlines, whatever it is that people are talking about. I try and give you just a little bit. I'm no expert on any of these, but what I do is I wake up early and I start reading all kinds of stuff, and then I form hot takes, and then I compile that into a list, and we do it here every day, Monday through Friday, and we call it the Rant. We call it the Rant because it is an uninterrupted stream of consciousness. It's just me. My voice to you is like nails on a chalkboard, which I have been told that. I have been directly told exactly that. Your voice is like nails on a chalkboard. That was pretty rough coming from a boss to someone who's hoping to make a living with their voice. But yeah, that was said. Said worse. My voice is not typical. I understand this. And because of my choice in a career in radio, my voice has been a great topic of debate between people who have hired me and people who have not hired me. I have had program directors tell me that they think that I have the best voice for talk radio they've ever heard. And I appreciate that. Others, not so much. Not so much. Cam's here. Hey, Cam, another great supporter of the show. We got Smee. Smee's a great supporter of the show. Barney, of course. James, Rainey. Oh, my God, everybody. Come on, chat room. I like to gather up the chat room early. I like to take a head count, figure out who I'm dealing with, and then when I perform this stream of consciousness rant, no interruptions, no breaks, no nothing, I like to imagine I'm just talking to them. And my friends, this is me just ranting in front of my friends. We do this every day, as I say, Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. We've been doing it for 3 years. So if you think this is just a flash in the pan, where you been? We've been doing this for 3 years. And I know this because we do this show in segments, 4 segments to be exact. Quarters, I call them. First quarter, we do a segment called Antecedently on This Day. This is where I take an event from history and we highlight it. Oh, this happened on this day in history, and we talk a little bit about it. Now, I know we've been doing the show for a number of years because we've been doing Antecedently on This Day for a couple of years, and now I'm starting to get to a point where I'm like, oh, isn't this about that time when so-and-so happened? And sure enough, we have an example of that today. We've been doing the show a long time, is my point. All these years that we've been doing this show has been run by you, the people who tune in, the people who listen. You guys tip the show throughout the month. We need to make X amount of dollars every month. It is not much at all. And we always just barely make it. That's actually not true. The last couple of months, we didn't actually make it. We came close. This month, we've got to make it. I'm hoping that we will make it. We are in Pledge Week around here. That's the first week of the month because I pay my bills late. Pledge Week, everything has to be accounted for financially as far as this show goes by the end of show tomorrow. So where are we on the Pledge Week? So we started out the week, I think we were at the 290 or 300 or something like that is what we needed to make all week. We have made incredible progress. However, there was a mistake made. There was an accounting error made. And although we got a bomb dropped today, we are not nearly as close as I had thought we would be should we get a bomb. However, let's address that because the big tipper of the day, number of you tipped yesterday. Thank you so much. You got us closer. The new number is, I don't know what it was. I spent time trying to figure out exactly where the mistake was made, and the new number I'm not even certain of, but whatever. Point is this. The big tipper of every day gets to be the executive producer of the next day's show. Today's executive producer is a person who is no stranger to this position. They've been an executive producer many times. They dropped a great big bomb on the show this morning and got us really close. Thank you to April. April dropped a crazy person bomb. So good. Thank you. I mean, man, I appreciate, people who drop 20. I appreciate people who drop $1. That's just the fact that this show means enough. Here's what it is. It's not about the $1 or the $20 or the bomb that somebody else drops. It's about the fact that you took the time to pull out your card and punch in some numbers because you like this show. That's awesome. That really, and even if we, somehow can't sustain this show very much longer, and the show were to go away, it would, that knowledge will certainly make me create other things and do something different or whatever. But I have no plans for that. Hopefully the show will remain. April is our executive producer, and she had a message. She wants us all to be very much today, very much aligned in the singular idea of let's go Mavs. That's right. Let's go Mavs. I am absolutely rooting for the Mavs because Boston, are you kidding me? I hate Boston. Not true. I love Boston. I actually love the city of Boston. The city of Boston is fun. That is a cool city. I don't know if I'd want to live there. Those people seem a bit irritating, but I could certainly spend a weekend or a vacation in Boston. Boston is a great city. Their sports scene sucks dick. Their sports scene is like the absolute. Oh, they're sports fans, I should say. Oh, my Bruins, Red Sox. Don't even get me started on the Patriots. So I'm absolutely rooting for the Mavericks, but I got to tell you, I see something very curious going on with Kyrie and Luka, okay? This might be the most talented backcourt I've ever seen. I don't know what I'm looking at here. I've seen some great basketball in my days, but this is truly special. But here's the thing. I don't have the vibe. I don't have this vibe where I look at them and I go, holy crap, nobody's going to beat them. And I have this vibe sometimes. I had this vibe with the Texas Rangers last year. There was just something magical that I kind of felt. Indescribable. Can't put a finger on it. If I could, I'd be a world champion sports bettor. But I can't. I just have this. I don't have it. I don't feel this vibe. I didn't feel it for the Stars. I said it, heading into this last series with the Stars. I don't feel this vibe. I definitely felt a vibe with the Rangers that I was comfortable just being, braggadocious. They're going to win. I can see it. There was no reason for me to do that, but I did, and they actually did. They won the World Series, and that was crazy, and I really, sincerely, and truly had this weird feeling about them. I don't have it for the Mavs and the Stars, and that upsets me. Now, that is not to say that the Stars obviously didn't move on to the Cup, but the Mavericks did, and the Mavericks are in the NBA Finals, and it kicks off today in Boston. Going to have to deal with Tatum and Porzingis, and just Boston in general is just not a good thing. So we are of the mindset, although I don't feel it. That's okay. I'm not magic. I'm not special. It doesn't mean anything that I don't feel it. I'm still rooting for the Mavericks. And because of April, we are all very much let's go Mavs today. Yeah. And then Corey Seager got injured. April says Seager's injury yesterday was the sacrifice the Mavs needed. Okay. We can look at it that way. Boy, we were really on a tear here in Dallas, weren't we? I mean, we have the World Series champion Texas Rangers. They won the World Series just last November. And then this year, coming in just up to a week ago, we had two teams on the verge of being in their respective league championships with the Mavericks, who did make it to the NBA Finals. And then we had the Stars, who were just on the precipice of a Stanley Cup appearance. That didn't go that well. You know who I bet was happiest that the Stars didn't proceed to their league championship and win a title? I bet the Cowboys. I bet the Cowboys were most happy that the Stars didn't win. Here's why. Because if the Stars had gone to the playoffs or the Stanley Cup and won the Stanley Cup, and then the Mavericks go to the finals and win the finals, that you know how much pressure is on the Cowboys next season to have to win a Super Bowl? Because that would mean that every other of the four major sports, every other major franchise in this town would have won their respective league championship. And now the Cowboys have to be the ones to finish it out. And I don't think they wanted that. I don't think Jerry Jones wanted that pressure. I think he's happy that the Stars are the ones that, okay, so that's off. So they don't have to worry about that now. Big game tonight. Ballard out there in Iowa, he has no real loving ties to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. He says, I rooted against the Rangers in the chat and they won. I didn't root against the Stars and they lost. So just seeing if my powers as a cooler actually work, April. All right. I think that we can engage in that experiment. Let's allow Jeff to be a cooler. Let's allow Jeff to badmouth the Mavericks in hopes that he's, an unlucky guy. He's got reverse luck or anything that he roots for. I felt that way as a sports fan, especially if a sports fan of Chicago teams. I felt like I must be the cooler. Anything I root for must fall to shit. Anyway, April is our executive producer, and let's go Mavs. Thank you so much, April. Appreciate you. Now, if you want to help us get to our final goal, we need to get to this goal by tomorrow. What is the number? What is the number we're at? Hold on. It's going to scroll through here. And again, this is my apology. I made a mistake. Hold on. Here it comes. Do we have the number? Jameson says, okay, Jeff, you can stay, but only if you are vocal against the Mavs. Yeah, that's the plan. Let Jeff be the shit talker for the Mavs. Let's let him do it. Okay, so it looks like we're looking at 104. I think 104. It's a funny number because a couple of people just tipped, odd numbers. So we're at 104. That's 52 today and 52 tomorrow. And I would really like to get this wrapped up today. So if we can get there, that would be great. Because as I said, I was optimistic early in the week about us reaching our goal. But I pointed out that by the second hour on Thursday, which we are coming up on here in 45 minutes, I'm going to be in anxiety. I'm just going to be racked with anxiety. And that's it. We're not going to talk any more about it. Thank you to everybody who's helped us so far. If you can continue to help the show, get us across that line. Got a big weekend coming up here. Oh, it's kids weekend too. Got the kid this weekend, which is good. He's not crazy expensive. He's not. He's awesome, man. He's just like, he knows his dad's broke. He knows. He's got good. He's got it good. Let's see here. What else do we need? Frank says the elitists. I love anyone who starts to send us off with the elitists because nobody hates the elitists more than me. Me, who is a secret agent. I am drop deep inside Elitism USA. I'm watching. I'm a fly on the wall. I see how these people act. Frank says the elitists are back on broadcast TV tonight. Oh, what is that? Oh, I guess I don't understand the context of that, Frankie. Sorry, Frankie B. I thought you were going to slam some elitists. I like that. Let's see. All right, that's it. Hey, we started early today. That's why I did a little bit more of a look at my butt. Got the show started for you right here. Top of the ear, as they say. 12 o'clock we started. That's good. All right. What is this show? Again, I explained it's 4 quarters. Antecedently on this day is quarter 1. Quarter 2 is birthdays. We know what that is. Quarter 3 is deads, people who died. Quarter 4 is the bulk of the show. It's all the things we talk about. It's the hot topics, the trending topics, things that are being discussed this very day. All right. Let's see here. I get it. Frank is there a problem with watching Mavericks games? Is that like, isn't there a problem? Is Bally's, like, people don't like Bally's? I hear a lot of people complaining about Bally's. That's not how I ingest my local basketball. I use Netflix, which Netflix is a website that I have found that allows me to watch basically any sporting event from anywhere in the world. So I don't know. I guess people got a problem with Bally's. Does Bally's carry the Mavericks? See, I don't even know. I'm not even sure. All right, let's get started. Let's get the show underway. What do you say? Today's executive producer again is April. Thank you so much, April. You are the best. If someone else wants to be tomorrow's executive producer or just want to get us across that line, $104 is all we need to make it across this month's line. We need that by end of show tomorrow. Help us out, please, if you can. Appreciate it, appreciate it, appreciate it. Okay, so now let's get started. It is the High Noon Rant. I'm Pugs Moran. It is the 6th day of June, year of our Lord, 2024. Oh, I just thought of something. My kid is out of concussion protocol. I was telling you I got my kid this weekend. So that means he's going to be able to do lake stuff, which on Memorial Day, he wasn't allowed to do Full Metal Lake stuff, which is good because he was in concussion protocol because he hurt his head, but he's out of that now and he seems to be okay. So I guess that means he can tube this weekend, which is good. Tubing, very dangerous if you're in concussion protocol. A lot of being bounced around, a lot of that. Let's see here. It is June 6th. It's the 158th day of the year. There's 208 more of these days until New Year's Eve. Let's get started with quarter one of the show, antecedently on this day. This is where we take a look back at things that have occurred on this day. We talk about how they apply, and sometimes they don't. On this day in 1844, the Young Men's Christian Association, the YMCA, is founded in London as a place for gay men to go and, have illicit sexual affairs. That is what the YMCA is. I don't think it's that anymore, because here's a crazy thing. You know what's a big player in youths here in the Highland Park, University Park area? I flop in a very wealthy area. These people are all like millionaires, right? So what I've realized is that the YMCA is a huge player in this area. Like all these rich kids playing YMCA leagues. And now I remember the YMCA as being kind of sketchy. Like when I was growing up, was that the gay YMCA of the 70s and the 80s? Is that when did they clean them up is my question. And I'm not saying that just because they catered to gay men means that they needed to clean it up. I'm just saying that was a weird thing to have happening at the Young Men's Christian Association. That's all I'm saying. YMCA, founded on this day. Oh, what? You didn't know it was like a historical place for gay men to go hang out? Did you never hear the YMCA song? It's all about gay dudes, hooking up, which is fine in 2024. I'm just saying it was a topic of conversation, a hushed conversation back in the 70s and 80s. Antecedently on this day in 1889, here, I always complain about this. 1889 on this day, the Great Seattle Fire destroys all of downtown Seattle. So I complain about this a lot. Why does every city have a fire? I grew up in Chicago. We thought that our fire was special. We thought that our city burned down. That's why we're cool. That's why we have a TV show called Chicago Fire. That's why we have a sports team called the Chicago Fire. That's why we had an old football team called the Chicago Blaze. I thought every city's been burned down on this day. Seattle, the Great Seattle Fire, they burned down. Then on this day in 1892, the Chicago L opens up for the first time. The L, the elevated train. Another thing, I thought we were special. I thought that made Chicago special. I thought we were the only city that had an elevated train. We're not. We're not. But whatever. Antecedently on this day in 1933, the very first drive-in theater opens up where? Camden, New Jersey. Drive-in movie theaters. Haven't people been saying for years and years? Okay, first of all, let me establish this. Were we Gen X? Were we the last generation to truly use the drive-in as an option on a Friday or Saturday night? We used to go to the drive-in. We had a drive-in near us, I-80 drive-in. We used to go there when there's nothing else to do. And I don't know, I don't think we ever did those like 50s and 60s stories of sneaking people in the trunk. I don't think we did that. I think it was just per car. You paid per car, and it didn't matter if there were people in the trunk. But the drive-in was a terrible movie-going experience. It wasn't about seeing the movie. It was basically just about walking around drinking beer underage. Could that come back? Could the drive-in? People have been saying drive-in's gonna come back. Could it come back? Is that what people want to do? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it seems like a very nice social thing. I don't know. I guess now we have things like movies in the park and, which are versions of drive-ins, I guess. I don't know. The first drive-in opened on this day in 19 33 in Camden, New Jersey. On this day in 1934, the New Deal, U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signs the Securities and Exchange Act of 1934. This established the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, which was an incredibly important organization when it was founded, who unfortunately over the years, with their access to extreme wealth and power, have been wildly corrupted. Don't get me started on my thoughts on the SEC. Moving on. Antecedently on this day in 1944, commencement of Operation Overlord begins. That's what we're seeing. That's a big story today. D-Day, ladies and gentlemen. D-Day on this day. Should all watch the film Operation Overlord tonight. Or we should all watch Saving Private Ryan tonight. I mean, I'm not gonna, because I've seen those movies a million times, but you, if you haven't, be a good way to honor the bravery of D-Day. Antecedently on this day in the year 2002, a near-Earth asteroid estimated at 10 meters in diameter explodes over the Mediterranean Sea between Greece and Libya. The explosion is estimated to have a force of 26 kilotons. That's more powerful than the Nagasaki atomic bomb. This was a near miss that they didn't see. These stories scare me. Now, this is back in 2002. I don't remember this being reported in 2002. I don't remember in 2002 science or the news letting us know that we almost all died because they missed a giant asteroid that ended up exploding over. That's, just a whole lot of shit flying at us constantly. We take it for granted. Could all end in a minute. These people aren't going to see it coming. They can't see tornadoes coming. They're not going to see an asteroid. I know we think that's, we're placated. We're conditioned. We believe, we trust the institutions when they tell us that no asteroid's just going to come out of nowhere and kill us all. That's a hollow faith, boy. Not for me. I don't believe it. You know how I feel about their weather predictions. You think I trust that they're going to be able to spot an Earth-killing asteroid barreling at us? I don't think so. Antecedently on this day in 2017, the Syrian civil war, the Battle of Raqqa begins. Remember this one? This was big. This is all we talked about, 2017. This was ISIS. Remember when ISIS was the biggest, scariest thing? Whatever happened to them? I don't know. All right, moving on. Let's go to birthdays. Here's some birthdays. Here's a weird one. Born on this day in 1944, and I say it's a weird one because yesterday, why can't I think of his name? Born on this day in 1944, Tommy Smith, American sprinter, also a football player. Why can't I think of Carlos? Who was the other guy? It was his birthday yesterday. We talked about it yesterday. Oh my God, John Carlos, of course. Yesterday was John Carlos's birthday. Today is Tommy Smith's birthday. John Carlos and Tommy Smith are the two guys that did the Black Power salute at the 68 Olympics. Pretty cool. How is that? Isn't that a coincidence? Their birthdays are one day apart. I don't know. The world is weird, man. Happy birthday, Tommy Smith. Born on this day in 1944. Born on this day in 1947, Freddy Krueger. He's got a real name. It's Robert Englund. Happy birthday, Robert Englund. Robert Englund is cool because for our Generation X, he's Freddy Krueger. That's all he ever needed to be. May as well be Luke Skywalker or Gilligan. He couldn't play anything else in the eyes of us. We saw him as Freddy Krueger. Even when he wasn't wearing Freddy Krueger makeup, he was still so weird and interesting looking that we went, that's Freddy Krueger. After he became famous in Freddy Krueger, we all started seeing movies from the early 70s that starred Robert Englund where he wasn't Freddy Krueger. And we're like, oh my God, Robert Englund was actually an actor for a while before he became Freddy Krueger. Happy birthday, Robert Englund. He's Freddy Krueger. Born on this day in 1954. Here's another guy who had his moment in the pop culture spotlight. Harvey Fierstein. Harvey Fierstein. He's not anybody that we should know, but he was famous for a couple of years. I think he was a big wig on Broadway. He was a big Broadway guy. Here's how he got famous. John Lovitz portrayed him on Saturday Night Live, Harvey Fierstein, and he had a catchphrase. He had the catchphrase, I just want to be loved. Is that so wrong? That was his catchphrase. That was it. It swept the nation. That's how we know Harvey Weinstein. I just want to be loved. Is that so wrong? John Lovitz. John Lovitz is an interesting individual. I don't know where to place John Lovitz in my rankings of all-time great SNL people because John Lovitz had the most unique comedic energy I've ever seen. I don't know if I like him or I dislike him. I know that John Lovitz has done stuff that has made me buckle over with laughter, and John Lovitz has done stuff that I was just like, yeah, I don't get it. What's he going for here? I don't know how I feel about John Lovitz. Sometimes really funny, sometimes don't get him. Here's what I do know. Interesting and unique comedic energy. John Lovitz played Harvey Weinstein. Is that so wrong? Harvey Weinstein, born on this day in 1954. Born on this day in 1955, Sam Simon, the great Sam Simon, American director, producer, screenwriter, developer, and co-creator of The Simpsons. Sam Simon died of cancer a couple of years ago, left a big old pile of money. Sam Simon had that crazy Simpsons money. And he left all his money to his wife, who is now low-key one of the most powerful and influential people in Hollywood because she controls the entirety of whatever Sam Simon left behind. And Sam Simon was pretty damn powerful. It's Jennifer Tilly. Do you guys remember Jennifer Tilly? Jennifer Tilly was, there were two sisters. There was Jennifer and Meg Tilly, and they both became actresses in the late 80s, early 90s. They both achieved some degree of fame. Meg Tilly, she kind of went this whole Jane Austen route where Meg Tilly did a bunch of real serious, like British independent films. Snooty, Sense and Sensibility type things, like that. And Meg Tilly was nominated for Oscars, and it's like, oh, she's the next great actress. But then at the same time, her sister, Jennifer Tilly, was also in Hollywood acting. And Jennifer Tilly was doing the complete opposite from Meg Tilly. Meg Tilly was doing critically acclaimed British high-end art house films. And Jennifer Tilly basically played a dummy. Jennifer Tilly's entire act was, I don't know, I got big boobs and I'm dumb. And it was a totally different kind of thing. I love Jennifer Tilly. Jennifer Tilly was very funny. But she wasn't a serious actress, and she wasn't anyone that people would take seriously simply because of her brand, simply because of who the characters were that she had done so well. The dumb, breathy kind of girl. Now, here we are in 2024. Sam Simon's dead, left her all of his powers and money, and Jennifer Tilly is like a baller in Hollywood now. Sam Simon, born on this day in 1955. Born on this day in 1956, Bjorn Borg. I don't know from tennis. Whatever. Is tennis even a sport? I don't know. I don't want to watch. I know I don't want to watch tennis. I'd rather watch ping pong. It's faster. Bjorn Borg is one of these guys who, and this is another problem I have with tennis. Like, it seems like every 2 years there's another greatest tennis player of all time. And Bjorn Borg was that. Most of my life growing up, it's Bjorn Borg. Then you get a Roger Federer. And you get a Nadal. Now you Djokovic. All of these guys are like the best tennis players ever. Anyway, Bjorn Borg, he was once the best tennis player ever. Born on this day in 1956. Born on this day in 1959, Colin Quinn. Nice guy. I like Colin Quinn. Colin Quinn's an old friend from the comedy days. And when I say an old friend, it means he's a friend of mine when I got a radio show. And not so much. Yeah, I can't really promote anything. But Colin Quinn was a good dude. I like Colin Quinn. He used to do our show all the time. Colin Quinn, happy birthday. Born on this day in 1959. Does that make him 65? Oh. Colin Quinn is 65 years old. Wow. Born on this day in 1960. 64 years old, which is also hard to believe. The great Steve Vai. Steve Vai, guitar player. Great guitar player. As good as Eddie Van Halen? I don't know. Some people back in the day said so. I like Steve Vai. Steve Vai's cool. Steve Vai. Remember that movie he did? What was the movie? Did he do a movie with Ralph Macchio? Crossroads, where he played the devil? Ralph Macchio what was that movie? Remember that movie? It was called Crossroads. I think I just realized it was called Crossroads. That was the movie. Steve Vai played the devil. It was a whole devil went down to Georgia. The devil dueling with, somebody for their soul. In this case, instead of devil went down to Georgia being fiddle, in this case, it was electric guitar. Steve Vai played the devil. because Steve Vai could shred. Born on this day in 1960, born on this day in 1967, one of the sickly six, one of the six actors in Hollywood who are allowed to work while being ugly, which is rare. You're not allowed to work while being ugly in Hollywood. They don't make ugly people stars, but they have decided there are six, the six sickly six. Your William Dafoe's, your Steve Buscemi's, but also your Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti, born on this day in 67. Sorry. I like Paul Giamatti. He's good in everything. He's good. Paul Giamatti, I don't know if he's better in movies or if he's better in TV, but he's good in both. Pig Vomit, remember? He was Pig Vomit from Howard Stern. Billions, you guys like Billions? Billions is such a good show. Man, that's one of those shows that, like, if you've never seen Billions, I envy you. Because now you get to watch Billions. He plays a crusading Department of Justice prosecutor in the Southern District of. Well, he plays the prosecutor, the main guy in the Southern District of New York, and he's going after billionaires on Wall Street. Oh, Billions is so good. Paul Giamatti, happy birthday! Fun fact about Paul Giamatti: his dad was A. Bartlett Giamatti. Yeah, Paul Giamatti's another one of these guys. Yeah, he's ugly, so that was hard. He had to fight that, trying to get roles in Hollywood. I know I'm ugly, but don't you need an ugly person to show how pretty the pretty people are? And that's kind of how he got in. But that's not all he had. He was also connected. I always talk about how these people who go into Hollywood and become stars, almost all the stars of today, come from some kind of privilege. You don't get the opportunity to really go on all the auditions and take every chance and all that stuff if you've got to wait tables. Right? If you're like living in a flop apartment, you're not getting a lot of sleep, you're not having opportunity. It's hard. It's harder to make in Hollywood. But when you go to Hollywood and your family has money and they can set you up and you can be paid just to go on auditions, buy an allowance or something like that, those are the people who make it. Those are the people, more so than not, those are the people that make it. It's not a girl who gets off a bus from Kansas and gets discovered. That's bullshit. The girl who gets discovered is a girl whose dad owns 10 Ford dealerships in Knoxville, Tennessee. That's the girl who gets discovered because she lives off the Knoxville, Tennessee Ford dealership money while she's trying to, get discovered. Paul Giamatti had that. His dad was the commissioner of Major League Baseball. He was a well-connected New York guy. Paul Giamatti's father was a very famous guy. He was the commissioner of baseball. I mean, the commissioner of baseball's famous. He's an influential, famous person. So that's who Paul Giamatti was. He's Abe Bartlett Giamatti's kid. Born on this day in 1967, Paul Giamatti. Born on this day in 1974, Uncle Cracker. What am I going to say about Uncle Cracker? Adam says he just watched The Holdovers and he was so great in that movie. Wasn't he? He's great in everything. He's just got such likable energy. No, that's the word. That's not the right word. It's not likable. He's got compelling energy. He's got compelling because he's very unlikable. Like, especially in Holdovers, he's a broken man. He's a man with a lot of anxieties and a lot of issues, and he doesn't really trust people. And so he's complicated. He plays complicated characters well. He plays complicated characters so well that no matter how unlikable they may appear to be on the surface, you find something that you can relate to. And you're like, yeah, I kind of get that guy, though. That's Paul Giamatti. That's why he's great. Uncle Cracker, on the other hand, he's having I don't know who he is. Who's Uncle Cracker? That's a stupid name. Isn't he a hip-hop guy? Is he one of these white, obese, Southern hip-hop guys who it's so ironic that he's doing hip-hop? Is he one of those guys? Is that who Uncle Cracker is? That's who I think he is. I think he's one of these, he shouldn't be doing hip hop, but look at him. Like that guy Jelly Roll. Like everybody loves Jelly Roll. I don't know anything about Jelly Roll. Everybody loves him. Don't let it be lost on you. The appeal of Jelly Roll is he shouldn't be doing that. He's a big, heavy set white guy. Isn't he a convict too or something? So I don't know. No hate on Jelly Roll. I'm just saying these people are chosen by the powers that be to be promoted, and there are things they're looking for. That's who I think Uncle Cracker is, right? Should I click on it? I could be wrong. Uncle Cracker could be a punk band. I have no idea. They're not a very good one, though, because I think I would know them if they were. Born on this day in 1992, how about DeAndre Hopkins? D-Hop. Where's he at? Titans? Who's he got? Will Levis throwing to him? Good luck. Good luck, D-Hop. He couldn't get out of he couldn't get out of the Cardinals organization quick enough. Now he's down there with Will Levis. Good luck to you, D-Hop. Happy birthday, DeAndre Hopkins, born on this day in 1992. I'll tell you, this week of underachieving millennials continues. 1992 is the last birthday of note that we're going to mention. He's the only millennial, DeAndre Hopkins, that we've mentioned all week. All other birthdays have ended with Gen X. Like, no millennials have done anything of note. There's been athletes and stuff, but I don't mention every athlete. I only mention the ones that I can talk about. April says Uncle Cracker did songs with Kid Rock. Slow rockish sound. Adam says Uncle Cracker is a one-hit wonder, but he's got 2 top 10 hits. Okay. Yeah. I don't know much. I mean, I know the name. I know he's famous, and I don't really have an opinion on him. I just have preconceived notions of who Uncle Cracker is. Barney says, wasn't Uncle Cracker Kid Rock's lead guitarist or something like that? I don't know. Maybe. That was never my scene. All right, let's go ahead. Let's move on. That's the birthdays. Let's go to the deads. These are people who've died. These are people who've died. Now we decide here whether they're in heaven or hell. That's the fun of this segment. Let's stand in judgment. Dead on this day in 1799, Patrick Henry. Give him liberty or give him death. Okay, here's death on this day. Patrick Henry's going to heaven. Of course he is. He's going to American heaven. I know, politician. I have rules. Politicians almost always get immediately sent to hell. Same with actresses. Same with college football coaches. But in this case, Patrick Henry, come on. I'm right now, American heaven. Patrick Henry has to go to American heaven. There he goes. Is he the give me liberty or give me death guy? I think he is. That's him. You got one-liner. He's got one line. We talked about how John Lovitz had, I just want to be loved. Is that so wrong? That's all you need. All you need is a catchphrase. Patrick Henry had give me liberty or give me death, I think. Speaking of catchphrases, Robert F. Kennedy died on this day in 1968. Robert F. Kennedy, his catchphrase was, and now it's on to Chicago and let's win this thing. And then he got shot. Robert F. Kennedy also goes to hell. Why? Because he's a politician, and politicians go to hell. Sorry to all my Irish Catholic friends who think that he's somehow exalted as more than a politician. He wasn't. He should never have been Attorney General. Are you people out of your mind? People talking about how, first of all, here's something I saw today. Now, look, I got no love for the Biden administration. You people know this, but I saw some people talking shit about Kamala Harris. Like, she is the most underqualified vice president in history. That's bullshit. That is a total lie. She was a senator. She was a state's attorney in California. She was the city attorney in San Francisco. She was a senator, and now she's vice president. She's checked some boxes, people. Stop it. Whether you think she's capable is another argument, but don't act like she's Don Jr., who was just put in a position to be vice president. No, she's done shit, okay? You know who didn't do shit? Robert Kennedy. Robert Kennedy was made the Attorney General of the United States by his big brother. And then just went on a tear. Just now, I mean, I guess depending on whose side you were on back then, he went on a tear against organized labor, and he went on a tear against organized crime. And Robert Kennedy just did a whole bunch of stuff there when he was made, what was he, 26? No, I know he was older than that. But he was like a super young Attorney General of the United States who was put in office by his brother. That, and I'm a Kennedy fan. I like the mythology of the Kennedy family. I enjoy it, the romanticism of it. But that is some bullshit. Attorney General, because your brother, God, what are we in Saudi Arabia? That's some Central American bullshit right there. You couldn't find anybody better to lead the Justice Department than your little brother. That seems like it should be illegal. It seems like it should be illegal. Robert F. Kennedy, dead on this day. He's in hell. He's in hell. Look, I guess there could be a debate about it, but he goes to hell because he's a politician, and that's what happens. Dead on this day in 1976, J. Paul Getty, also going to hell. That's right. American businessman, founded Getty Oil. This son of a bitch, J. Paul Getty. He's born in 1892. This dude lived in 1976. He's the guy whose grandkid got kidnapped, and they gave him the ransom. They're like, yeah, we're going to kill your grandkid unless you give us this money. And he went, I don't like him that much. Actually, that's not what he said. What he said was, if I pay you, then all my other children will be targets. And it's like, oh, dude, come on. He's awful, J. Paul Getty. He's an oil man, American billionaire, J. Paul Getty. Piece of garbage. That's what he is. He's going to hell. Dead on this day in 1979, Jack Haley. Jack Haley, American actor. You guys don't know who Jack Haley is, but yeah, you do. You do. Jack Haley, you don't know who Jack Haley is, but you do know who Jack Haley is because Jack Haley played the Tin Man. The Tin Man. He's going to heaven. We're going to put the Tin Man in heaven. He seemed nice. Of all three, like seriously, of the three that Dorothy encountered, the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion, and the Scarecrow. All right, let's go through them, okay? The Scarecrow, that's a duplicitous piece of shit right there. You do not need to be making your trek to Oz with that Scarecrow. That Scarecrow will sell you out. That Scarecrow was a garbage person. Now let's move on to the Lion. The Lion, useless. Absolutely a big old pussy lion. Getting each out of house and home because it's a lion, and then you can't even depend on it to defend you because it's cowardly. The lion is absolutely useless. The Tin Man, that's your consigliere right there. The Tin Man's the only one she needed. The Tin Man was the one that seemed to be the guy that you could talk to. He could get you through the poppy fields. He'd get you through. The Tin Man was. There you go. That's my stream of consciousness riff on the three qualities of Dorothy's travel mates. We're going to put Jack Haley, the Tin Man. We're putting him in heaven. Good for him. Dead on this day in 1979. Dead on this day in 2005, Anne Bancroft. Anne Bancroft, American film actress. She won an Oscar like a long time ago for The Miracle Worker. That was the Helen Keller movie. She's also, I think she's more famous culturally, pop culturally, as Mrs. Robinson, Cuckoo, Mrs. Robinson from The Graduate. Now, Anne Bancroft was an actress. So we have rules. Actresses, they already lean towards going to hell because actresses are terrible people. Especially non-famous ones. I mean, I don't know many famous actresses, but I know a lot of actresses. I know a lot of struggling actors. They're all terrible. But Anne Bancroft seemed cool. She seemed really cool because, first of all, she was married to Mel Brooks for like a really long time. And Anne Bancroft was like a sex symbol. And Mel Brooks was not a sex symbol. Mel Brooks was just a writer. He was like a nerdy little writer who was funny. And somehow, at some point in her prime, he hooked up with Anne Bancroft. And she liked him. And that speaks very highly of her. Because she was hot. She like could have run around with anybody. And she went with this, Mel Brooks dude. And she stayed with him forever. Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft. So you can give her credit for that. But then also in one of the late seasons, not the latest season, but this was actually, it's one of the later seasons of Curb Your Enthusiasm, but it's about 10 seasons ago because Curb ran forever. But Mel Brooks was the producer of The Producers, which is a play that Mel Brooks wrote. And he had recast it with Larry David, and that was the arc of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft had a seasonal arc on this season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. And they seemed awesome. She seemed awesome, and she looked really good because this was right up around the time that she must have died. Well, she died in 2005. So this was probably like 2004. God, it was longer than I thought. Getting older. Oh. Anyway, she's going to heaven. We're going to put Anne Bancroft in heaven because she seemed cool. She seemed like a cool old broad who was still, even like in her later years, you're like, I can see it. I can totally see it. She's a hottie. Anne Bancroft. She gets to go to heaven. Let's see here. April, Smee, Balthazar Getty is the son of the grandkid that was kidnapped. Yeah, Balthazar Getty. He's an actor. He tried to be an actor. He had the Getty name, so everything was in his favor, but he never really panned out, did he? He's just famous for, we know him. Here's why we know Balthazar Getty, the actor, 90s actor, 2000s. We know him because Balthazar is a badass name. We remember that name, Balthazar. And then Getty. He's a Getty. He's a Getty. He's one of the Gettys. That's why we know him. I don't think we know him from any singular role, do we? And Bancroft, she's going to heaven. Dead on this day in 2006. Here we go. Billy Preston. American singer, songwriter, pianist, and actor. Billy Preston, of course, popularly known as the fifth Beatle. Nothing from nothing means nothing. Billy Preston was a keyboard player in the Beatles. Let's just put it that way. Who was Billy Preston? Well, he was a solo recording artist with a bunch of hits on the R&B and soul charts. Rock charts too. I think he had a couple of rock hits. So in his own right, Billy Preston had his own thing going there in the 1970s. But before that, Billy Preston was Get Back, any Beatles songs, any later era Beatles songs that had that warm Hammond organ on it. That was Billy Preston. Billy Preston was on the Roof. You know, that famous final Beatles concert. Billy Preston's up there. Billy Preston's up there playing the keyboards. Billy Preston was cool. Billy Preston died on this day in 2006. Billy Preston goes to heaven. That's right. Billy Preston, the fifth Beatle. I don't think he got a cut of their earnings, but he's on a lot of their stuff. Again, I want to remind everybody that today is a very special day here in North Texas. Why? Because it's the kickoff of the NBA Finals. So thanks to April, we are reminding everybody, let's go Mavs. What time's the game tonight? It's 8 o'clock. It's on the East Coast, so it's going to be an hour. What time? Is it a late game? We're going to get out. We're going to be up late? I don't stay up later than 11 now. I don't know if this is like me being old or just me, because I'm loving my new sleep schedule of like going to bed at a normal, reasonable hour. Walk the dog at 9:30, come in, watch about a half hour of TV, be asleep by 11. That's the new plan. It's been working out great. I wake up at like 7:30. I like it. I walk the dog first thing in the morning. I don't know. I'm in a rut that I feel is more emotionally and psychologically healthy and physically healthy because I'm walking the dog so much now. So I'm just concerned if I'm going to be up late. 7:30. That's good. Not going to be up late. 7:30 is not bad. 7:30 Central for tonight's game. There's Jeff. Jeff is playing the cooler. He's the Mafugi, as we used to call him as kids. There's a lot of names for that. There's the Mook. There's the cooler. And on the south side of Chicago, we used to call it a Mafugi. But that was more because if somebody was doing, like somebody was shooting in a game of horse, like imagine a game of horse, somebody was shooting in a game of horse, we'd all start just mumbling and doing this, Mafugi, Mafugi, Mafugi. So I don't know if that means anything, but I'm going to call Jeff the Mafugi. Mafugi of our chat room, because he will be openly rooting for the Boston Celtics. Now, this is an experiment because we hope that Jeff is a Mafugi and a cooler, and whatever he roots for, the opposite happens. Let's see here. That's right. Thank you. So thank you to April. She is today's executive producer on the show. A big round of applause for April, today's Let's Go Mavs official producer. She was the big tipper from yesterday. Thank you, folks. We are in the middle of a pledge week. We are trying to earn as much. We're trying to get to our limit. We need $104, I guess, now by the end of the show tomorrow. So if you can get us there, that would be great. That's what we need. Hopefully we'll get there. I love you guys. Appreciate you. We're going to move on. We're going to talk any more about that other than to say I will leave that up. And if you are so inclined during the course of this show, drop a little something. That would be wonderful. Help us. How hot is it, by the way? When I took the dog out this morning at 7:30, it was already like super hot. Let's see what we're dealing with. 93. All right, so it's already 93 degrees here in University Park, Texas. Let's get started with the day's news, the hot topics, everything that's happening, everything that's going on today. Are we ready? Okay, here we go. Big story. Number one, D-Day. Ladies and gentlemen, it is D-Day. President Biden's over there. It looks like every world leader is in one place. I mean, that can't be good. Just looking at the way the world is today, we seem to have gathered. Netanyahu there? Putin's not there. We know Putin's not there. We know Netanyahu's not there. Germany? Does Germany show up? Like, what's the role of Germany in these D-Day celebrations? Like I saw the French people. I saw the English people. I saw Prince William. Saw Biden, all these people. Are the Germans there? How about the Japanese? The Japanese sent somebody? I bet the Japanese sent somebody. I don't know if they're high pro. German. I need to know what the Germans are doing. Is the president of Germany or the chancellor or prime minister? I don't even know what they got over there. Used to be a Merkel. They used to have a Merkel. I don't know if that's still a thing or if they just actually, I think they got a new Merkel, and I think it's like a younger Merkel. I think it like looks like a Merkel, but it's a younger Merkel. Whatever. Here, I thought this was pretty cool. I thought we could watch this because we're all familiar. We all know what D-Day was. It was the day when we landed on the beaches there at Normandy, Utah Beach, and Zulu Beach, and I don't know, all those things. I've seen countless documentaries about it. It is an incredible moment in world history, not just American history, but a big thing. Now, we don't have a lot of these anymore. I grew up around a lot of dudes who were World War II dudes. A lot of like, my grandpa's generation. My father was killed when I was young. I was raised, by a World War II guy with his World War II outlook and his World War II buddies sitting on the steps drinking. And I really think that is another thing about us, Generation X, that sort of defines who we are, that we were heavily influenced by people who went through World War II. And we weren't heavily influenced like, well, they weren't your parents, they were your grandparents. Yeah, which means their influence was even greater. See, the children of the greatest generation who stormed the beaches there at Normandy, those children were boomers. Those boomers, their parents were just their parents. And think about how you think it, whatever, mom, whatever. But it's the grandchildren. It's the grandchildren who are sitting there at 5 or 6 years old, hostages really, listening to these stories of their grandparents. And children have a different way of looking at their grandparents than they do their parents. I mean, it's not like they love one more than the other. That's not at all what I'm saying. But a parent is somebody who you're almost afraid of. You're afraid of letting down. You're afraid of the judgment. If you have good grandparents, that's never a fear for the grandchild because the grandparent represents unconditional love. So just through osmosis, these kinds of, and the parents do as well, but there is a fear of the child that the child carries around, that they will disappoint the parent. And all I'm saying is that that's not the same dynamic that you have with a child and a grandparent. Point being this, our generation, Generation X, we have respect and regard and deep love for the people who stormed those beaches. They were our grandpas. They were our grandmas. They were our uncles. And we're the last generation that had that. All those people died off. All those stories about what the Nazis really were, all those stories about fascism and what America stands for, all that shit is gone. The millennials didn't get any of that. The millennials, that's why it gets so weird when you see so many young people in America doing the Hitler haircut, liking people like Charlie Kirk. It's like, you motherfuckers weren't raised by cool ass old people, were you? You have no idea of what that generation, those people who first came through the Depression, and then when they came of age, their younger years were all Depression-based bullshit. And then as soon as they got old enough to get out on their own, they were sent to go storm a beach in Normandy. We have lost our regard for these people. Now, people being complicated, I also think that there's a lot of troubling factors about that generation. They thought a lot of ways about things that we find to be not good through today's lens. But that doesn't change the fact that these people went through shit that we can't even imagine. And their influence has been almost completely lost now in the last 20 years. And I think that that's a reason we forget. Never forget. Hashtag never. We forget. We forget. Anyway, I wanted to play this. I thought this was really cool. I saw this morning. Anybody, again, who grew up in that era who wants to learn a little bit of something. I think this is probably 20 years old. Yeah, it is. It says this is 20 years old at this point. This was from 2004. This is Andy Rooney. You guys remember Andy Rooney from 60 Minutes? Andy Rooney was a dude on 60 Minutes who just did a commentary at the end of every show. Old people loved him. I just always thought he was kind of a crazy old man, but whatever. Andy Rooney stormed the beaches on Normandy. And Andy Rooney's an articulate storyteller. So let's listen to Andy Rooney. This is from 20 years ago. This is a guy who was actually there. And as I say, a lot of these people are gone. We don't have their stories. We can't put a face to the legends, right? Let's listen to Andy Rooney, 60 Minutes. This is a dude who was there. He stormed the beaches from 2004.
Because it was part of my life, I'd like to say something about D-Day. I don't know how to say it any differently than I did in a book I wrote called My War. If you are young and not really clear what D-Day was, let me tell you, it was a day unlike any other. There have only been a handful of days since the beginning of time on which the direction the world was taking has been changed for the better in one 24-hour period by an act of man. June 6, 1944 was one of them. What the Americans, the British, and the Canadians were trying to do was get back a whole continent that had been taken from its rightful owners by Adolf Hitler's German army. It was one of the most monumentally unselfish things one group of people ever did for another. We all have days of our lives that stand out from the blur of days that have gone by, and the day I came ashore on Utah Beach, 4 days after the initial invasion, is one of mine. As we approached the French coast, there were small clouds of smoke and sudden eruptions as German artillery blindly lobbed shells over the hills behind the beach. They were hoping to hit U.S. troops or some of the massive amount of equipment piled up on the shore there. Row on row of dead American soldiers were laid out on the beach just above the hot mark, turned into weedy clumps of grass. They were covered with olive drab blankets, their feet sticking out at the bottom, their GI boots sticking out. I remember their boots, all the same on boys, all so different. No one can tell the whole story of D-Day because no one knows it. Each of the 60,000 men who waded ashore that day knew a little part of the story too well. To them, the landing looked like a catastrophe. Each knew a friend shot through the throat, shot through a knee. Each knew names of 5 hanging dead on the barbed wire in the water 20 yards offshore. 3 who lay unattended on the stony beach as the blood drained from holes in their bodies. They saw whole tank crews drowned when the tanks rumbled off the ramps of their landing craft and dropped into 20 feet of water. There were heroes here no one will ever know because they're dead. The heroism of others is known only to themselves. Across the Channel, in Allied headquarters in England, the war directors, remote from the details of death, were exultant. They saw no blood, no dead, no dying. From the statisticians' point of view, the invasion was a success. Statisticians were right. They always are. That's the damn thing about it. On each visit to the beaches over the years, I've wept. It's impossible to keep back the tears as you look across the rows of markers under them who died that day. Even if you didn't know anyone who died, your heart knows something that your brain does not. You weep. If you think the world is selfish and rotten, go to the cemetery at Colville-sur-Mer, overlooking Omaha Beach. See what one group of men did for another on D-Day, June 6, 1944.
All right. I have I've always been a little obsessed with D-Day. Saving Private Ryan, after I saw that as a young man, that changed, made it more vivid. But the concept that you're going to send me from wherever it is that I'm living, you're going to send me over to the British Channel or wherever, you're going to put me on a boat with thousands of my fellow warriors. And here's the plan. You're just going to dump us all on a beach that's currently occupied by the German military, which is, a pretty scary military at that time. That was the plan. You're just going to overwhelm them with bodies. And yeah, lots of us are going to die. We're just cheese going through a grater. I couldn't imagine that mindset. I couldn't imagine putting myself as an 18, 19-year-old kid from Nebraska. Did they think of it that way? Like, did they have an awareness that nobody gave a shit about them? Andy Rooney talks about, Allied command with Eisenhower and all them neatly tucked away in London with their graphs and their statistics and their moving little pieces on a game board. Talked about them. Did the kid in the back of the boat being dumped on the beach, did that kid know that they didn't give a shit about it? I mean, is that a thought? Or is it just, are you just hoorah at that point? Are you just, I don't know. I couldn't do it. That's why I can't. I don't know what their awareness of the situation was. I don't know. I know that we have the luxury of history and we know everything that happened. So we have that luxury when we think about what their mindset must have been. But I don't know. Scary ass day, and a truly, truly amazing day. That plan was a terrible plan. That plan was like, we're going to take a lot of casualties here, but got to do it. And, oh, sorry. TV went off. D-Day. Anyway, I guess there's a new D-Day documentary on Netflix. I might be checking that out today. All right, that's the big story of today happening. SpaceX, also a big story today for SpaceX. SpaceX, yesterday we talked about the Boeing Starliner, which had a successful launch there from Florida, Cape Canaveral. The Starliner yesterday going up to the ISS. The Starliner took a couple of NASA astronauts, a crewed launch yesterday by the Boeing Starliner. That thing was supposed to dock. I don't know if it already did. It was supposed to dock in the 11 o'clock hour. It takes 24 hours, I guess, to get from Cape Canaveral to the International Space Station. So this morning, about 11:15, it was supposed to dock, and they had to abort the docking, and they pushed it. And I don't know if they ended up docking, but it was 12:30. It was originally 11:15, then it was 12:30. So I don't know what's going on with the Starliner. But today, one day later, SpaceX, they launched their new super heavy rocket. Now this is 2 days in a row. This is a big deal. This is 2 days in a row where we have had successful launches, successful high profile launches that were, carried on news, live on the news. So that's good. That's good, because I always say, we have a bit of a skewed idea of what we can and cannot do in space. One of the things that we absolutely cannot do is get off the platform here on Earth with consistency. We can't do that yet. So, I know we see movies where they have laser wars in space, and that's not real. We can't even get to the moon, which isn't even another planet. It's just something stuck in our orbit. We can't even get to that with regularity. We did it once 50 years ago. Half the country thinks we didn't actually do it. This is a mess. So today, second day in a row, we've had another successful launch. This is good. SpaceX's Super Heavy Starship rocket launches on epic test flight. SpaceX has launched the world's most powerful rocket today. It successfully put the company's Starship upper stage into space and then brought it back down through the heat of re-entry for an apparent controlled splashdown in the Indian Ocean. Now, this is the big deal that they did. They did the thing where they shoot it up, it gets off, it doesn't explode, they throttle up, it separates, everything falls back into the ocean, and then the actual ship lands. Now, there was nobody on this one. This one, I don't think that, there was nobody on this one. But this one was, this is for satellites. This is, they want to launch a whole shit ton of satellites. It is a rocket, however, although being used for very minor purposes today, it is a rocket that they believe is going to be the preferred industry standard for taking us to whatever it is. So it's a big deal. This rocket working, huge deal. Not to be confused with yesterday's huge deal, which was a manned Boeing Starliner flight to the ISS. I want to show this. Do we have the cool ass? We do. Okay, so we got cool ass video of the SpaceX launch today. From here in Texas, too, by the way. Let's watch this. The video is awesome. It's like back when you got the countdown. It's not like that anymore. It's much cooler. All right, here we go. Hold on, let's watch this. This is the most powerful rocket that has ever been built. And it went off today from here in Texas. This is Elon's SpaceX Super Heavy. Here we go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, we have this off.
Man, dude, if it didn't move, you're not a dude. I'm telling you, this is awesome. Look at this. Look at the power of this thing.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
baby! Go! Please don't explode. Embarrassing. It's embarrassing when these things explode. The video is so much better these days. That's what I was trying to say about the old Apollo missions. The video was garbage back then. I mean, it did its job, and we were happy to have it. But man, this video is great. All right. What happened to the sound? The sound just went out. Oh, here we go. More sound. Oh, yeah, I thought this was weird. Okay, so here, we'll back it up a little bit. Look, one of the lights burned out. Look at that. Ain't supposed to be like that. That's first of all, how Star Wars badass cool is that? That's what the engine looks like when it's roaring into outer space. That looks space age. That looks alien, right? Like that doesn't look like, I'm used to like just big flames coming out, right? That looks badass. However, does it bother anybody else? Anybody else OCD? Anybody else bothered by this one that doesn't appear to be lit? That could be a problem. We're watching the SpaceX Super Heavy. All right, we don't need to see anymore. That's going to drive me nuts. They're not going to fix it. It's not going to come on. It's just going to be irritating to me. There you have it. SpaceX, big day for them. Big day for Boeing and the Starliner last night. Very, very, very cool day for us space geeks. All right, what else do we have here? Hunter Biden trial. Hunter Biden alert, everybody. Hunter Biden's on trial, and I don't want to get into the politics of this because it's very political, as all of these trials appear to be these days. But here's what I want to talk about. Man, they were doing some stuff to this dude. Yesterday we talked about his hot wife and how his hot wife called some dude a Nazi POS yesterday. All right, so today we're going to talk about just Hunter Biden's no good, truly terrible, awful, fucked up day. That is what's going on with him today. Because guess what? He's got to go on trial. First of all, let me be clear. I think it's important that we enforce gun laws. And, well, this one's out in the open. He apparently illegally purchased a handgun claiming he wasn't on drugs when it appears that he was on drugs. So, yep, it's out in the open. We know about it. Got to prosecute him. That's how I feel about it. We must enforce these gun laws. Politics aside, maybe we shouldn't even know about this instance. Maybe this shouldn't have been, given the light of day, but it was, and we know about it. So we got to go for it. No special treatment for Silver Spoon Hunter Biden and his hot, cool wife. I think his wife's cool. I think his wife, she's got that bitch thing that I'm attracted to. Anyway, yesterday was day one. Today, the prosecution is trotting up some people who know Hunter Biden. The prosecution is bringing up his ex-girlfriends. Oh my God. Oh my God. Could you imagine that? That would be hell to me. Actually, I had to think about this. Like if I was on trial today, because I thought this is so funny, the idea that they're just going to bring up ex-girlfriends to talk about what he was like, which is not good. But I was thinking about this. I'm like, would that be bad for me? And I don't think that would be bad for me. Because of my high-profile girlfriends, and I say high-profile because, like, the one I used to talk about my girlfriends and stuff all the time on the radio. I was a relationship guy, so if they got talked about, that means we were in a relationship for at least 6 months. Anyway, I was thinking about this. Of all my like high-profile girlfriends and stuff, I don't think one of them would come get me in court. I think that if they were called to testify against me, I don't think they'd have an axe to grind. I don't think I have a good relationship with both my ex-wives. At least I think I do. I mean, I know I do with one of. I mean, I do. I know I do. So it wouldn't be so bad for me. But then I thought about one. I thought about one. Let me know. Let me know if we're back. Let's see here. Guys, if we're back, let me know. We just had an internet surge kind of situation. All right, Jameson just posted something, so I appear to be communicating in some way, shape, or form with the chat room. There I am. Okay, thank you, Shmi. That's what I was looking for. All right, Hunter Biden's in court today, and he's got an ex-girlfriend talking shit on him. That cannot be a good day for any of us. Moving on. Let's see. She's going to talk about his crack smoking. What's that? What are you doing smoking crack? I mean, it's like Hunter Biden, life of privilege, senator's son, all of that. What are you doing smoking crack? Are you that desperate to be interesting? Is that something that you were like, I'm going to smoke crack and it's going to be shocking to people because I'm a child of privilege? Ugh. Do cocaine. Why aren't you a cokehead? You don't have to do crack. You could do coke. You're Hunter Biden. You probably could have had access to really good coke. Why are you smoking crack? I don't have anything like that a girlfriend could tell me. I don't have any, do I have any? You know what? But you know what a girlfriend could do? If a girlfriend wanted to get up on the stand at a trial, I mean, I think what she could do to embarrass me, just talk about what a little bitch I can be. I think that's it. She might just have stories of me emotionally reacting improperly to something, and it would be embarrassing, and I'd be like, yeah, I did do that. I can be a baby when I don't get my own way. I'm a bit of an only child. That's it. But not Hunter. Hunter's got a chick coming up there. She's going to talk about buying crack with him and crazy sex stuff. And is this the one who says that he used to wake up in the morning and first thing he'd do was smoke crack? Jeez. Says, it's a disease, right? Yeah, I know it's a disease. He's an addict. My question is, why did he go to crack? Why not cocaine? Of course, he needs to get help for it. But also, why did a senator's son gravitate towards crack? I think he was trying. I think he was trying too hard. He's trying to be interesting. That you don't think that's weird that a child of privilege becomes a crackhead? I do. I think it's weird. I think it's rare. I don't think it's something that's never happened before. We've got a high profile example of it here, but it is rare. It is rare that people of privilege become cokeheads or pill poppers or whatever it is that any number of Kennedy family members have become dependent on. They're all pill poppers, the Kennedys. But yeah, it is. It's a disease. Addiction is a disease, but choosing your method is a choice, and he went with crack, and I find that interesting just because he is a child of privilege. And now he's got to sit there and listen to a girlfriend in his darkest moments, in the when he's a total crackhead. Now he's got to listen to an ex-girlfriend come up on stage with his now wife sitting there next to him. She's gonna take the stand. She's gonna talk all kinds of stuff about what a weirdo crackhead he was. I don't understand that. Being a cocaine addict, a rich, entitled child of privilege who's a cocaine addict, that's roguish. That's like, what's he going to do? He's going to be the tennis pro down at the club. That's kind of the life he's leading. That's almost expected. Crack, I'm just saying, crack is shocking. Like if it turns out, he was a meth head or something, it's like meth. That's not the son of a vice president. And I guess that's what he was at this point. His father was the vice president. The son of a vice president shouldn't be doing crack or meth. They should be doing, high risk sex and cocaine and, the rich people stuff. All right, let's keep going. Moving on here. This is interesting. So the Alitos, the upside down flag and all that kind of stuff, the Alitos have been taking shit for, and they deservedly so. A sitting member of the Supreme Court of the United States should be above this kind of bullshit. And it's a bit discouraging to learn that he's not, that he's actually involved in weird sus stuff like this. And it's just weird. Look, the Supreme Court is supposed to be non-political. And apparently, the Alitos are flying flags that suggest some kind of an allegiance towards one ideology over the other, which is okay, whatever. So here's what happened. So apparently the Alitos were flying an upside down American flag, which means a coup in progress or nation in distress or whatever. There's many interpretations. Here's what we know. Apparently the upside down flag was used during the January 6th situation. And that's what we're going to call it, because I refuse to have a conversation about January 6th because there is absolutely no progress to be made having a conversation about January 6th. I know what I saw. You apparently saw something different. We're going to move on. But Alito, his wife, is who he blamed, is apparently the one behind this. And apparently the flying of the upside down January 6th flag, and we're going to call it that just because that's sort of what's being suggested here. The upside down January 6th flag was flown by his wife, not him. And now the origin of this supposedly comes from a neighborhood beef that the Supreme Court justice's wife was getting into with a neighbor. Now, this neighbor went on CNN last night and she told her side of the story. And let's listen to this neighbor explain the beef that she's in with a Supreme Court justice's wife that caused the wife to fly the flag of these here great United States upside down, causing all of this trouble, all kinds of, it ain't a good look for a Supreme Court, justice. Anyway, okay, so here it is. This is from last night on CNN. I'm not going to say anything. I just want you to meet the neighbor, and then we'll discuss who we think the problem is, okay? Let's play a game. We've heard one side of it. We've seen the pictures of the flag flying upside down. But right now, let's play a game. Who's the real problem here? All right, this is from last night's Aaron Burnett show. This is the neighbor who is in the beef with Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito's wife. Okay, this is from last night's CNN. Oh, no. Hold on, guys. Got to do this again. I'm sorry. All right, guys, let me know if we're back. Sorry. Let me know. I'll wait. I apologize. We're having some internet issues here. Give us a scream if we are back. Are we back? Are we back? We're back. Thank you, everybody. Okay, very good. Now, we were talking about Samuel Alito's neighbor who's in a beef with his wife, and his wife, in response, flew the American flag upside down, causing this whole big controversy. We've been wondering what this beef is about. Well, the neighbor who's in the beef with Alito's wife, she went on CNN last night, and she told her side of the story, and I want to play a little game called Who's Actually the Problem Here, okay?
Tonight, Justice Alito's neighbor speaking out in her first TV interview.
All right.
Emily Baden lived near the home of Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito.
Okay.
It is at the center of a neighborhood dispute that involves this upside-down American flag flying at Alito's home in Northern Virginia.
Okay.
This picture was taken in January of 2021. Alito facing accusations of bias now. He's now refused to recuse himself from January 6th related cases or Trump related cases, saying that it was his wife who flew that flag, which of course was a banner on January 6th. And he said it's also his wife who flew another flag at their vacation home, a flag also used by insurrectionists on January 6th. He says he didn't know about that one. Alito also defending his wife, saying she flew the upside down American flag because...
I got a question about these insurrectionists. Did any of them just fly a normal American flag? Or was it all some sort of weird, bastardization of our flag? Was it all like the "Don't tread on me" flag, or that one with the tree that we just saw? Or was it all just upside down American flags? Were there any like regular American flags? Because, then that's a flag of the insurrectionists. We seem to be. Let's keep listening.
As, quote, she was greatly distressed at his wife, saying she flew the upside down American flag because, quote, she was greatly distressed at the time due in large part to a very nasty neighborhood dispute in which I had no involvement.
Okay, so Judge Alito is saying that this is my wife, can't shut her up. You know how these women are. I'm reading between the lines, but this is what he's saying. Jesus, she's been beefing with this neighbor. I told her to knock it off, but I get that. That's kind of what he's doing. It's not exactly what I want from a Supreme Court justice. It's what I would expect from my neighbor whose wife is being a bitch, not Samuel Alito, not a member of the Supreme Court, but okay. It's kind of an everyman excuse. He's blaming the wife. I can see why.
Well, it's an important question for the country. What happened here when you look at a Supreme Court justice flying a flag of insurrection? It matters why and who and what he thinks. And Emily Baden is out front. She lived near the Alito's.
All right, here comes the neighbor. This is the neighbor who's beefing with Alito's wife.
Northern Virginia home. And she is one of the people at the center of that, quote, very nasty neighborhood dispute. And Emily is speaking out tonight in her first television interview about this experience. So
she's not one of the people at the center. She's like the person in the center of the debate. This is between her and Alito's wife. And nice of Aaron to try and provide her with a little bit of camouflage there. But this is about her. We're going to hear how it started. This is about this neighbor and Alito's wife.
So, look, thanks so much, Emily.
Two Karens.
For taking the time and coming out to talk about this. I know it's not something you really expected to ever have to do, but I want to start with the dispute itself with Martha Ann Alito, Justice Alito's wife. I know it began after the 2020 election over yard signs that you had placed at your mother's home where you were living at the time. Can you start off by just explaining to me what those first yard signs you put out said?
Yes, and Aaron, thank you so much for having me today. My first yard sign that I put up was an anti-Trump sign. It said F Trump in glitter cursive letters. And
cute.
It was just as like a message to the world that I see Trump as a danger to our democracy. And I see him as a self-proclaimed fascist. Okay. Like he said, he wanted to be a dictator on day one of his presidency. And so I just use my small influence in my small corner of the world to just...
Your mom's house. We established your mom's house, not your corner of the world. It's your mom's house. By the way, mom's house, which I imagine is in a really nice neighborhood. Why do I assume this? Because a Supreme Court justice lives across the street. I'm guessing it's a nice neighborhood.
Broadcast my views like that.
All right. So you put the F Trump sign out.
Okay, this is where I want to get to. All right, so we know how it started. It started because this neighbor crashing at her mom's house across the street from the Alitos put a yard sign out that said F Trump after the 2020 election. Now, I believe she's the problem. I believe that she started this entire thing, putting up a sign that says F Trump. I'm getting so sick of this. I get so angry, and I am even on this, man. I can't tell you how many times my son has had to sit with me in a car at a traffic jam while I just rip a new asshole into the hillbilly in front of me with the F Joe Biden bumper sticker. You see those way more often. You see the vulgarity, the publication, the promotion of the word F, the fuck word. We're seeing this everywhere, and it drives me nuts. I don't care if it says, as in this woman's yard sign case, fuck Trump, or in the case that I see all the time, fuck Biden. I care that we're just out here throwing this goddamn aggressively vulgar word out in a way that we never have before. Can we have just some modicum of decorum in this world before we just start openly throwing F-bombs? Kids, you've got a bumper sticker on your car with the fuck word on it. That's what you're giving out to the world. You got a carload of kids behind you who are, seeing this. Stop it. And this dumb bitch with what she thinks she was so cool. She knew she lived across the street from a Supreme Court justice. She knew that Alito had conservative leanings, that he's one of the conservatives. She put this sign on her front yard that said, "Fuck Trump." A vulgar, obscene statement that, regardless of your political affiliation, should make normal people angry. And I don't know whether or not Mrs. Alito, and I'm not defending Mrs. Alito. I don't know what the motivation was for the flying it upside down. A lot of people want to reach and say, oh, she's showing solidarity with the people who tried to overthrow the government. No, she's not. Maybe she's just in a sign war with a neighbor, and what that means is in distress. Maybe that upside down flag that Mrs. Alito was flying was nothing more than a statement to the neighbor, which I'm starting to think is more and more likely, especially since the neighbor's original sign was so aggressive. Fuck Trump. You're in a nice neighborhood. You're in a nice neighborhood where people have grandkids coming over. You've got a Supreme Court justice living across the street, and you're going to plop a sign in your front yard with the F word on it? You're the problem. Now, I don't know where this has gone, and maybe, ideologically, maybe I feel a little bit more in league with what you're saying than maybe what you think the Alitos are about, but we don't know that yet. All I know is the facts that we have. You put a sign in a nice neighborhood that said, fuck Trump. If I can get mad at the hillbillies and their pickups with the fuck Biden, I can get mad at you for doing the exact same thing, you dummy, you pig person. This is the problem. We're all so aggressive. We're all so vulgar, I say. I know I've just thrown a whole bunch of F words out, but this is a stream. You know what I'm talking about, man. I hate that. Now my kid is 15 years old, and he's, I don't know if you've ever seen the Bad News Bears, but he swears like a 15-year-old. I don't even correct him anymore. He's 15. He's a young man. He's feeling his own oats. If he drops an F-bomb, that's fine. But still, I imagine like if he's 8 or 9 years old, we're in the car and he's seeing every other bumper sticker that has some vulgarity on it. Stop it, man. Police ourselves. I don't care if you like Trump and you hate Biden. You see a buddy that's rolling around town with a fuck Joe Biden, just say to him, hey, man, that's a bit classless. Let's try and be a little bit better. Let's try and maintain some public veneer of civility, okay? Because this shit's got to stop. This whole thing is because some bitch crashing at her mom's house decided she was going to overturn the neighborhood by going into a sign war with a Supreme Court justice's wife. She's the one who had the fuck Trump sign. That's unnecessarily aggressive from the beginning. Let's keep watching this. Now, again, there might be a whole nother side to this. They might be onto something. Maybe Alito is in league with the people. I don't fucking care. That's not what I'm commenting on right now. I'm commenting on the neighbor having her option or her opportunity to give her side of the story. And so far, her side of the story makes her seem to be a troublemaker.
And glitter. And Mrs. Alito responds, right? So tell me about that. How she reacted.
Yeah, so there were a handful of times that we somewhat interacted, like not actually speaking, but, she kind of stopped in front of the house and gave us a long glare. And
here's something else that needs to be said for context. Understand this, that in the personal universe of this neighborhood, everybody knows who the Supreme Court justice's wife is. Okay? This woman, this anonymous woman living at her mother's house across the street from the Alitos, they don't know who the fuck she is. She's just somebody who's all of a sudden there. But everybody knows who Mrs. Alito is. Everybody knows. She's going to claim later. She's like, and I didn't even know they lived there. Yeah, you did. You're obviously a politically charged individual. You know that your mother lives across the street from a Supreme Court justice. You know that. Stop acting like I didn't even know who she was. Yes, you did. You're a person who's motivated by politics to the extent that you would put a vulgar sign in a front yard demeaning the other person. That's who you are. Don't tell me you're not aware your mom lives across the street from a Supreme Court justice.
I just want to emphasize that the interaction that happened on February 15th is the one that they're using as an excuse for why they flew the flag. And I really want to hammer home the fact that that happened on February 15th, and their flag went up 2 or 3 weeks before that. So even if it were a valid excuse that they were having a dispute with a neighbor and that made them put the flag up, the that timeline just disproves it. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And I want to go to that in detail. But first, just the very basic. When you put up the F Trump sign and she walks by and she glares, had you ever talked to her before? Did you realize that this was that this was Martha Ann Alito?
Yeah, so when I moved back to the area in 2020, I did know that the Alitos lived in the neighborhood. I didn't know which house. I didn't know what they looked like.
She doesn't know. She's politically charged. She doesn't know what Alito looks like. He's in the neighborhood. She's trying to make, she is a political troublemaker who wanted to trigger the wife of the Supreme Court justice who lives across the street. Now, I see Adam in the chat room and he's like, I can't believe when you get it this wrong. None of what I said is wrong. This is all real human behavior. I'm just calling it out. She started it. The Alito woman wouldn't even know who the hell she is if she hadn't agitated. This woman right here, agitated. Now, the fact that maybe her and I vote the same way on some things doesn't change the fact that I'm calling her out for being the troublemaker that she is. She put a sign in a nice neighborhood with the F word on it. Anybody, any reasonable person could be expected to be angered by that. I believe, after hearing this interview on Aaron Burnett last night, that this woman did it intentionally as a way to get at the Supreme Court justice's wife. That's my belief. Adam thinks I'm wrong, whatever.
And so it didn't take me long, though, to put two and two together.
And to realize who they were when she's standing outside. So you realize that she's upset about this. So then,
could she be, and the narrative that this was about personal politics, I also now have to push back a little bit. We don't know why Samuel Alito's wife was upset. We don't know that she was upset about the political opinion being expressed on Trump. I think it's very reasonable that she was upset for the same reason that I would be upset, which is that there's some idiot trash in my neighborhood with a fuck word on their front yard. That's what would be upsetting to me. I don't give a shit if it says fuck Trump or fuck Biden. This is a nice neighborhood. There are kids. So that very easily could have been what pissed off Alito's wife. Oh, this trash in the neighborhood with these trashy signs. We don't know. Now we all want to jump because everything is political and everybody's, blindly partisan. So we just want to go with, well, she's obviously on Team Trump and that's not good. Supreme Court. This is a fight between a couple of neighbors, a couple of Karens, and one is obviously the instigator. The instigator is the one. Now, was it dumb to fly the American flag upside down when you're the wife of a Supreme Court justice? Absolutely. That's stupid. She did not consult advisors on that one. She just did it on her own, and it was bad. It's a bad look, and we've got all this trouble now for this family. But that doesn't change the fact that this woman, this neighbor, she started.
When January 6th happens, my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Emily, because I'm trying to make sure I have all the timeline right as well, but you then added a yard sign, Trump is a fascist, which you just indicated you feel that way, and you are complicit. And I want to ask you about those specifically, because Justice Alito said that those specific, and I'm sorry, Trump is a fascist and you are complicit, were, quote, directed at his wife. Were they?
Yeah, no. So January 6th was a dark day for our democracy. And I think people of all ideologies feel that way. We all.
Oh my God! See, now this is the problem that I have with my liberal brothers and sisters that I always try to point out. Liberals exist in the world that they want to be. Liberals spend their day existing in a world where everything is puppies and picnics and all of that stuff. It's the world they want to be. And if we just act like it's so, it will be, is kind of the attitude. Conservatives, as awful as they can be, they at least operate in the real world. Here we have a liberal woman who is on television, and she just, let's back it up again to hear what she said. She is so full of shit.
Were they?
Listen.
Yeah, no. So January 6th was a dark day for our democracy. And I think people of all ideologies feel that way.
Why do you think that? There is like a segment of the American population who think that January 6th was a dark day in American history. And then, from best as I can tell, there's a much larger contingent who refuses to acknowledge that anything happened on that day at all. What the fuck are you talking about saying? And I think both ideologies can. You live in a delusion, lady. She's walking around here thinking everybody thinks January 6th was a terrible thing. I'm telling you, sweetheart, there's a lot of people out there who want January 6th to happen again. And then there's a whole bunch of other people who don't think that what actually happened on January 6th was a big deal. But she's up here on TV going, I think it's a dark day for everybody. What the fuck kind of program bullshit is that? Not everybody thinks January 6th was the darkest day in American history. Some do. People like you do. Not everybody.
We all saw this direct threat to our democracy, and it was chilling. And so my putting up a sign that says Trump is a fascist, because I believe that he's a self-proclaimed fascist, and you are complicit, you includes everyone. It includes everybody in the GOP who,
you were fighting with a powerful lady. I don't know what's going on in your life. Apparently things were bad for you. You had to move back in with your mom. I get it. I've been there. Shit, you're in a bad headspace. And all of a sudden you decide you're going to go to war with somebody who's going to make you feel important because this person you're going to war with is the wife of a Supreme Court justice. I get it. You made some bad decisions. You shouldn't have put a sign up in a nice neighborhood with the F word on it. That's bad decision number one. And then number two was, and I do believe that the second sign she put up where it says you are complicit, I do believe that that was directly intended for the Alitos. I think that that's the reason. But she's on TV saying, no, I was talking about the royal you. Okay, whatever. Well, that's interesting, though, because this Alito story with the flag has been something that I've been kind of like, that doesn't sit right with me. And it still doesn't. I still don't have, there are multiple parts to that issue. What we've just covered now is how did it start? Why did it become an issue? And I think we have a better understanding. I think there was an activist. And that's what she was. This girl we just saw on Aaron Burnett is an activist, partisan, political person who put up a vulgar sign. And the fact that it was vulgar, the fact that it had the F word, and she says it was in glitter, so that makes it better, like a kid's version of the F word, but whatever. I would be angry. I get angry in traffic when I see people with the F Biden thing. I'm like, dude, do we really need to be putting that out? The fucking F word? Just, Biden sucks. That's fine. That's the line. Go Biden sucks. That's the line. But don't, dudes rolling around with their daughters in the car and all of a sudden, what Fox? What is that? Come on, man. Let's have some civility. I promise you this. I'll spend as little time out there mixing with the rest of the unwashed as long as we can all promise on the small time that we do spend out there that we're going to try and do good stuff. Not just like roll around in cars with giant F words on them. And I'm not a prude. You guys know that. I'm not a prude. I'm a former shock jock. But I liked it better. I liked it better when just, those of us shock jocks were the only ones who could get away with that stuff. Now everybody's doing it. Everybody's a shock jock. Barney says it was a dark day. I don't want to get into it. I love you, Barney. I was about to read Barney's January 6th take. We have specifically never spoken about January 6th because it's an interesting day. But, I'll wait for history to have its final say on it. And then maybe in 20 years, I'll have a conversation about what I witnessed on this day. But too soon. Too soon for some of you. Some of you can't have a real conversation about a lot of shit that's gone down in the last couple of years. So we're just going to move on. I don't care. Whatever. We'll move on. Speaking of, let's talk about this. What do we have here? Newsbreak. This is interesting. Now, Newsbreak is a headline news app that I'm not gonna say I rely on, but it's one that I've used. I see it. It's one of the apps that I subscribe to, or not subscribe to, but follow. Newsbreak is very good at breaking news. Thing like, Newsbreak is where you'll see posted on Twitter, a mall shooting in Ohio. The very first reports of it will be put out there by this organization called Newsbreak. It is the number one breaking news app in America. Newsbreak. I don't know if you see it on your Twitter or on your Facebook, but it's out there. I've shared many things on Newsbreak. Won't be doing that anymore. Turns out the #1 news app in America is actually a front for Chinese propaganda. That's right. And none of the news stories, actually, what they're finding, a bunch of the news stories were fake. Like they just put out breaking news stories to get shares and likes and all that kind of stuff. They make it up. But when I say they, it's not they. They're using AI to invent news, to rattle us, to get us all shook up. Turns out it is a Chinese organization. It's a Chinese propaganda front, Newsbreak. So when you talk about fake news, it is the top of the fake news. Here, here's the story. Top news app in the United States has Chinese origins and writes fiction with the help of AI. Newsbreak. There's a lot of these out there, man. I see them all the time because I follow a whole bunch of news sites, and there's always new news sites popping up that look like legit journalism platforms. And then you're like, this doesn't seem real. Let's see here. Newsbreak, a free app with roots in China. It is the most downloaded news app in the United States. It has published an alarming piece about a small town shooting. It was headlined "Christmas Day Tragedy Strikes Bridgeton, New Jersey." This was a story about the rising gun violence in small towns across America. It went on, it was fake. It was a total fake. They go on to give a number of other instances where Newsbreak has broken stories, distressing stories, ugly stories about how horrible it is to be here in America and how dangerous it is. And turns out, all fake. All fake. AI created these stories from whole cloth, put them out there. We all shared them, and we all thought there was another mass shooting last night in Bridgeton, New Jersey. There wasn't. So Newsbreak, be looking for that app and just ignore it because it's Chinese propaganda. How about this? In England, this dude, Nigel Farage. You know who this guy is? Nigel Farage. He's a big toothy son of a bitch. He looks like he chain smokes and reeks of tobacco. He just looks gross. He's like a gross looking old guy. British guy. So there's an air of sophistication to his grossness, but he's a gross guy. And he's running for something over there. And he apparently got attacked by a woman the other day. A woman ran up to him and threw a milkshake in his face. He was very embarrassed. Although people without shame, I don't know how they can be embarrassed. He seems like a dude without shame. Here's the story. He was attacked by a milkshake. Now there's more to the story, and I'll get to that in a minute. I'm actually kind of burying the lead here, but I want to give you the background. Milkshake attack was frightening, Nigel Farage says. Nigel Farage has said it was quite frightening to be attacked with a milkshake during his first day campaigning as a reform leader and the party's parliamentary candidate for Clacton. I don't know what that means. A woman was arrested on Tuesday afternoon after a milkshake was thrown at Mr. Farage as he launched Reform's general election campaign. Mr. Farage told ITV News, "I don't know what was thrown at me, but it hit me in the face fair and square. Quite frightening," he says. All right, so that's the story. There you go. He got whipped with a... Now, we got more on this story because it turns out that the person who threw the milkshake, the person who tossed the milkshake in the face of Nigel Farage is a hot. That's right. It's one of them hot people getting involved in politics over there in England. Here, let's see the video. Do we have a video of this? Let me see here. Hold up. I haven't seen this video before, so. All right, so we're going to skip that ad.
Well, it should have been the perfect start to Nigel Farage's campaign to make another political comeback and become the Reform UK MP here in Clacton-on-Sea in Essex. He turned up, made a speech down on the promenade where 50 or so passionate fans of his he stood up on a bench and spoke for around 10 minutes, citing immigration, citing schools, and citing the fact that, quote, nothing works anymore as his reasons for making a screeching U-turn and returning to run for Parliament for an 8th time. After that, he went, as we've seen so many times of him in the past, to the pub, where he spent around 2 hours or so answering questions from journalists.
Is this the video of him getting hit?
Supporters and talking basically to just about to the turquoise.
Where's the video of him getting hit?
from the
here we
crowd
go. There
of
it
the
is.
country on the election campaign
All right.
so far. And it was at that moment that a woman...
All right, you see her right here? Here, we'll back it up a little bit again. She threw it.
Allegedly sprang...
Yeah.
So far.
There she is. Oh, look at her. Okay. So here she is right here. She's making her way up. She's going to toss it in his face.
And it was at that moment that a woman allegedly sprang from the crowd and doused Mr. Farage with a banana milkshake from McDonald's. Now, most of the drink went above Mr. Farage's head, but some...
That's a good shot. What is that, a vanilla? What is that, vanilla? I mean, it could be banana, but I don't think McDonald's has a banana milkshake. Maybe they do in England.
did hit him, went across his face, across some of his collar, and also on his blazer. He was seen wiping off his blazer, trying to remove the dairy treat from himself.
All right, so there you go. That's Nigel Farage. He got hit with the milkshake. We saw the woman who did it. Now let's learn a little bit about her. She's a hot, as I said, she's an Instagram and OnlyFans chick. Her name is, let's see, she's 25, arrested for chucking a milkshake. Wait, let's get a look at her. There she is. Look at her. That's the chick who threw the milkshake. Very good. They got more pictures of her. 25 years old. That's probably best. In order to keep that figure, there she is right there chucking it. Keep that figure, you gotta cut out the milkshakes. What's that? I don't know if that's her. All right, look at her there. She's got a bunch of, she's got the generational regrettable tattoos. That's something that everyone in this generation has. Stupid tattoos that they got while drunk in 22. Now they're stuck with these dumbass tattoos for the rest of their life. Not always going to look like this. At some point she's going to look like your grandma, but she's going to have these. She's going to have the sexy tats. All right, let's see. Any other pictures of her? Nope, that's going to do her. Okay, that's her. Hot chick. Hot chick alert. What's her name? What is her name? We should get her name. Mr. Franz but doesn't say. Well, let's get her name. Why can't we have her name? Maybe this story has her name. I don't care. Moving on. 25-year-old OnlyFans porno chick threw her milkshake at Nigel Farage in England. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, hey, how about this? This is, we talked about this in birthdays. It is Paul Giamatti's birthday. One of the sickly six. One of the six ugly men allowed to work in Hollywood, Paul Giamatti. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Paul. Good for you. Paul Giamatti is in the news because he's signed on for another TV show. And this is interesting because Paul Giamatti does great TV. Paul Giamatti also does great film. Adam brought up earlier his incredible role in Holdovers just from a couple of months ago. That's great. Sideways. I love him in Sideways. I mentioned Pig Vomit from the Private Parts movie. But TV, man, he's done a lot of really great TV too. Billions. What else did he do? Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, he's going back to TV. Sorry, I just lost my page. And this is something that, although I'm not all that interested in, apparently there's a whole generation that is very excited about this becoming a TV show. Hostel, the film series Hostel, is apparently being turned into a television series. It doesn't have a platform yet, but it's got a bunch of big name people involved, and they've cast Paul Giamatti to be the star of the Hostel TV series. This is Eli Roth is going to be behind it, so it's got all the pedigree of the Hostel film series. The Hostel film series is not that big to me. I've seen a couple of them. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I do get that, like, you know, for millennials and people maybe 15 years younger than me, they love these. Here's my question, though. You're going to do a TV series on an Eli Roth? Well, I guess it's not just Eli Roth, but you're going to do Hostel before you're going to do Saw. It seems to me that Saw is the one that's more ready for a TV adaptation. But okay, that's fine. Paul Giamatti has signed on to star in a television adaptation of Eli Roth's horror franchise Hostel. The project's in development at 5th Season, the studio behind Severance, and does not yet have a distributor attached. Roth is set to direct and write the original franchise. Roth is set to write and direct with original franchise producer Chris Briggs. The two of them will also executive produce alongside hostile alum Mike Fleiss. Paul Giamatti on his birthday announcing that he's going to be taking the lead role in a hostile television series coming to TV. We don't know where. They don't even have the distribution or a platform, but they got big names and they got money and they're making it. They're just going to make it and then they'll go from there. Here's another interesting story. Robert De Niro and Kurt Russell. Now, this is a crazy, weird story that started percolating earlier in the week. Remember when Robert De Niro, for some completely unnecessary reason, decided to go and start trashing Trump and just lit himself up, just opened himself up to be, the dumbest people with the worst takes were given free rein to say shit like, Scott Baio's a better actor than Robert De Niro, just because he went political. He just, dummy, can't keep your mouth shut. Just keep your mouth shut and do movies. Why you got to do this? Anyway, so Robert De Niro, he's been taking a lot of shit. I love Robert De Niro. I love everything that he does. Not so much the Trump trial screed that he went on. I can do without that stuff, but whatever. I still like Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro's been taking a lot of crap, obviously, from the MAGA world. They all hate him. And there was a story that got picked up about Kurt Russell. It was going around on Twitter. It was making its way on Facebook. All of a sudden, Kurt Russell was trending because everybody was like, oh, we love Kurt Russell now. You didn't have an opinion of Kurt Russell until Kurt Russell said some shit on Robert De Niro, and now suddenly you love Kurt Russell. Okay, whatever. But that was the story. Kurt Russell, apparently, there was like a meme going around with Kurt Russell, and then the quote attributed to him, which was that the absolute worst experience I've had in 50 years of Hollywood was working with Robert De Niro. I think it was Heat. I think they were, Heat, no, Backdraft, maybe Backdraft. I think it was Backdraft. And then it went on to add, Robert De Niro is insufferable, overrated, blah, 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 all this stuff, Kurt Russell. And that went viral. Everybody's like, oh my God, look at Kurt Russell. Look at Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell is MAGA. Kurt Russell is going after De Niro. Yeah, totally not true. Kurt Russell had to come out. The New York Post, by the way, did an entire story on this about how Kurt Russell was Breaking Bad on Robert De Niro. And then the next day, Kurt Russell had to come out and go, that's not true at all. I love Robert De Niro. He's the greatest actor of all time. Totally the opposite of everything that was said. And this was from the New York Post. The New York Post ran with it. They turned it in from what was just basically something being discussed online. The New York Post legitimized it, turned it into an actual story to the point where Kurt Russell had to be like, hey, wait a second. I never said that. That is not how I feel about Robert De Niro. Fact check. New York Post claims Kurt Russell said working with Robert De Niro was the worst 6 weeks of his life. Let's see. Well, anyway, it turns out that that's not true. He says that Kurt Russell, let's see, a few social media users thought that the post was real, blah, blah, blah. The New York Post was fun. Anyway, be careful. Just be careful what you believe. There's nothing true out there. See it with your own eyes. That's how if I see it, I don't believe anything anymore. Everybody lies about everything. It's so easy. We're so gullible. We will believe something that sort of reinforces something that we already want to believe. If we want to believe something and then somebody gives us some bullshit information that has absolutely no credibility, we will believe that bullshit information because, again, it reinforces what we already want to believe. We got to stop doing that. We got to understand that the world is full of disappointments, and we're going to hear shit all the time that's going to disappoint us. And just because it's disappointing and just because it's not what we want to hear doesn't mean it's not true. I complain about the liberals living in this delusional world. Well, a whole bunch of us live in a delusional world. That doesn't have anything to do with our political ideologies. It just has to do with what we believe to be real. What we're willing to believe is real. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about body cams. Body cams making big news. TJ Maxx and Marshalls. Do you guys like TJ Maxx and Marshalls? Haven't been to a TJ Maxx or a Marshalls in a very long time. Used to like them. Used to really like them. Like back in the 90s, loved TJ Maxx. Not so much Marshalls. They're owned by the same company. They're the exact same thing. They have the exact same stuff. But Marshalls is just a little bit nicer. TJ Maxx is just such a trashed out store. Every time I would go into a TJ Maxx, there's piles of stuff in the aisles. Marshalls is a fucking chaos too. But Marshalls is at least a little bit, seems cleaner. I don't know. It's like the difference between Target and Walmart. You know, when you walk into a Target and you just feel like it's cleaner, and you walk into a Walmart and it seems more industrial, more warehousey. You know, not a lot of, attention to like details or glamour or fashion. Whereas Target's very much neon lights and, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, moving on. Body cams are now going to be worn by employees at TJ Maxx and Marshalls. Now, the body cameras are going to be worn by both security people who are unarmed security guards who wear this. These people are the funny. They're actually the saddest of the security guards because they're the ones who they make dress up in like the badass stormtrooper outfits. And they got Kevlar vests and they got all kinds of like hooks and keys and they got stuff on their utility belt like a Batman costume. And they got all of this stuff and it just says in yellow security like across the front of their, and then they can't do anything. They can't do anything. So now they're going to have these cop cams. What do we call them? Body cams. Shut up, dog. They're going to have body cams now at TJ Maxx and Marshalls because people are stealing. And they're not going to stop people from stealing because that's not what happens. They're going to just film it so that if somewhere down the road the police ever want to get around to, actually arresting somebody who was videotaped walking out of a store, they can do it. That's what TJ Maxx is doing now. A lot of the people who work at TJ Maxx and Marshalls are saying this is absolute bullshit. All this is doing is making us the employees now, people that criminals are going to want to tear that camera off their chest or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like they're unnecessarily putting people who they've told to stand down and stay away because that's what the employees are told in these situations. It's why we see these videos of people just freely walking into stores, filling up a cart and walking out because I guess they've game planned it out. And having a minimum wage employee try to stop a criminal, I guess the lawyers and the accountants said, nah, let's just take the loss on whatever they're stealing. That's the world we live in. We just let people steal. By the way, I saw an interesting TikTok the other day, and it was a person. Someone was in line at self-checkout at a Walmart, and they were filming a person just filling up the bags without scanning anything at the self-checkout. Person went to the self-checkout with a full cart and simply just took the stuff out of the cart and put it in bags, not scanning anything, not self-checking out. And this person who was in line before them were like, oh, I can't believe they're just allowed to steal and all this kind of stuff. And, just getting really outraged. Well, it turns out Walmart allows you to scan and pay as you go. So this person was in fact not stealing, but it looked like it. Do you know that you can do that? Like if you see somebody doing that at Walmart, don't stop them because chances are they just have the app on their phone and they can just pick something up, scan it on their phone, put it in their cart. So then when they get to the self-checkout, they don't have to check out. They just put the stuff in. Anyway, that's what I think was happening there. TJ Maxx and Marshalls. TJ Maxx and Marshalls. Nice clothes if you don't mind having one hem just a little bit longer than the other. That's what it is. You get nice stuff at TJ Maxx and Marshalls. There's just something a little fucked up about it. There's something a little fucked up. I mean, there's just some weird discoloring, right in the middle of this shirt. That's okay. It's only $5 now. Why not? You like these pants? One leg is just a little bit longer than the other. Not a problem. Not a problem. What else do we have here? Oh, how about this story? Here's a great story of an actor that I really like. Jonathan Tucker. Do you guys know who Jonathan Tucker is? Let me show you who Jonathan Tucker is because maybe if you see him, you'll go, oh yeah, I've seen that guy. He is terrific in everything. He's a great, he's not even a young actor at this point. He's been around 20 years. I mean, I've seen him in stuff forever. But he's always been a favorite. He's always been one of these people that whenever he shows up in something, I'm like, oh, that dude's awesome. That guy's a great actor. That guy's cool. This is suddenly going to get interesting because Jonathan Tucker's in it. He's one of my favorite That Guy actors. Here he is. Give you a look at him. Maybe you recognize him. Boom. Jonathan Tucker. He's in Westworld. I guess that's where most people know him from. I don't really know him from Westworld. I know him from the final season of Justified. He played an absolutely maniacal murderer, crazy motherfucker in the last season of Justified. He was really good in that. I also know him from a terrific series that nobody saw. Look, There were a lot of things about this series that people might go, yeah, I'm not going to waste my time. And that's too bad because it was a great series. It was called Kingdom. And it was like on DirecTV's regular channel. Like it wasn't on Netflix or HBO Max. It was on some weird off-brand network. And it was an MMA story. It was the story of like a family that ran an MMA gym called Kingdom. And they were like, anyway, he played a young MMA fighter. And he was excellent. Kingdom. If you ever get a chance to see that anywhere, I'm telling you, I know it looks like something dumb and meatheady. It's not. It's a really good, dramatic story about a family. Anyway, Jonathan Tucker, he's this guy. Let's see if there are any other pictures. You might recognize him. Yeah, young guy. Look at him. He's look at that crazy guy haircut. He's got a crazy, scary guy haircut. All right, anyway, that's Jonathan Tucker. All right, so why are we talking about Jonathan Tucker? Jonathan Tucker lives in the Hancock Park neighborhood of Los Angeles, which is a nice neighborhood. It's not Beverly Hills or Bel Air, but it's certainly a nice neighborhood, and none of us could probably get in there. The dirt's going to cost us $3 million before we even talk about the house. But it isn't, it isn't Bel Air or anything like that. Jonathan Tucker, a lot of working actors live there. Apparently, and we're going to show you this. Here, I got some video of it. Jonathan Tucker's neighbor was a young family, a husband and a wife. The husband was away at work, and the wife had just come home from grocery shopping with her 2 young daughters. So, Jonathan Tucker apparently saw her come home. He lives next door. Saw her come home. And then he saw something else. After the mother and the 2 young daughters walked into the home in the Hancock Park neighborhood of Los Angeles, he noticed a dude come walking down the street, walk up their driveway, approach their front door, and then walk right into their house. Now, Jonathan Tucker, the actor, he knew these neighbors, and he's like, I don't know what that's about. And I know the husband's at work, and I just saw the 2 little girls and the mom come in with groceries. What the hell is going on? Jonathan Tucker went to investigate. He ran inside the house, found this guy trying to steal one of the children, basically handled business. And guess what? We got it all on a body cam. So let's check this out. This is, not a body cam, but a Ring doorbell. Let's watch actor Jonathan Tucker save his neighbors. This is pretty cool, especially since I already like him. Oh, what are they going to give us, a news report? I don't want a news report on this. I thought we were just going to get raw video. All right, that's all right. We'll watch it anyway. All right, here we go. Jonathan Tucker, actor and real live hero. Here we go.
Very busy night. I'm Pat Harvey.
That's right. I'm Juan Fernandez. Tonight, actor Jonathan Tucker is being called the hero for helping rescue a family from a frightening ordeal in their Hancock Park home.
And KCAL News reporter Lori Perez is live with this story and the dramatic video she has. Lori.
Pat and Juan, the family is very grateful, so thankful that no one was hurt in this incident. And I'm told that the actor, Jonathan Tucker, is kind of known as a guy who's always keeping an eye out. This was the moment caught on Ring video when a man came to the door of this Hancock Park home, seeming to talk to himself. He then opens the door and walks in with 3 little girls and their mom inside.
She saw him and asked him, what are you doing here? And he didn't answer, just kept walking towards her, and that's when she just yelled for my kids to get out.
The homeowner, who wants to stay anonymous, says a neighbor had texted him there was a man at the house and says he got home just as the stranger was going inside. The homeowner says he ran in to grab his baby. You can hear the chaos inside. As actor Jonathan Tucker, seen here barefoot but barging in, was also responding.
Yeah, Tucker's great. He's block security. He patrols. He makes sure everything's under control. And I think he was tracking him for a while, for like an hour and a half. He had called the police earlier before I did.
This security.
The way they describe him, yeah, Tucker's amazing. He's like block security. They're describing him like he's the retarded kid in the neighborhood who's like, running the neighborhood watch. Like, he's amazing, Tucker. He's like block security. He just handles everything. That is pretty cool, though. You see him come running up.
Camera video shows
for like an hour and a half.
Look at him. There he is. Oh, come on. Close that up. Was he just coming back from the gym?
He had called the police earlier before I did.
This security camera video shows another neighbor running to help. Another angle has Tucker carrying one of the girls out. The actor, known for his work on Kingdom and Westworld, through his manager, declined to be interviewed. Neighbors say this is his voice.
Thank you, LAPD. We appreciate you guys very much.
Applauding LAPD when they came out with the suspect after a brief standoff. All this happened just after 6:30 Sunday night. Meanwhile, this neighbor, who's shaken but not stunned, says her family has lived in this Citrus Avenue neighborhood for almost 100 years, but she will likely be the last.
Yeah, it would make me sad. It would make me sad to leave the neighborhood, but, you know, it's just not safe anymore.
The victims, who own a mental health facility, say the suspect appeared unstable. They've actually offered to house him at their facility, even as they ask the city
Boy,
to do
that's some Hollywood liberals for you, huh? They just happen to own a mental health facility, and they would like to take care of the guy who tried to come in and steal their kids. That's a pretty cool story. I like that story. Jonathan Tucker. Here's what I like most about it. Did you notice? This is why he's such a dude. This is why he's such a dude. He declined to be interviewed for it. He declined to take credit for being there. He just did it. He just did it. And they said, we tried to talk to Tucker, but he declined. That's badass. That's cool. Yeah, I don't want any credit for this. Roll the tape of me running up. Roll the Ring video. That's all I need. You want to put that out there? That's fine. Let people see. You don't need to hear me now talking. Jonathan Tucker. He's a real live hero. That's what I say. All right, what else do we got here? Here's another piece of entertainment news. I talked about this one yesterday with James Parker on WBAP. 2 o'clock to 5, right here in Dallas, Fort Worth on 93.3 FM. Come here. Oh, the dog is starting to be a biatch. Come here, you white bitch. Come here. Come here. Okay, oh, she's doing this thing now where you're just going to stand on it? Okay. You're like the world's largest cat. You're just going to be a cat now? All right, let me finish talking about this, and then we'll wrap the show up, okay? You can just sit there? Okay, yeah, I love you too. Okay, go away. Okay. Okay, just sit here and we're going to do the rest of the show. Okay? All right, here we go. So yesterday I was with, we should at least try and be on camera. You don't need to. There you go. Just let's get you framed if you're going to hang out with me. Alec Baldwin and his crazy family, they're going to have their own reality series coming to TLC, The Baldwins. Now, why do I think this is so interesting? Because this dude is a guy who would obviously never have agreed to do something like this if he hadn't been embroiled in what went down on the Rust set there in New Mexico a couple of years ago. Alec Baldwin is famously anti-paparazzi. He doesn't want people asking him anything. A reality show like the Osbournes, like that's essentially how this is being pitched. The Baldwins, he would never have agreed to something like this, but he's going on trial for manslaughter. Okay, you make yourself comfortable, girl. He's going on charge for manslaughter, and I think he needs a little bit of character reclamation. So he's going to go to TLC. He's going to plop down in the living rooms of all the people who are used to watching Honey Boo Boo and all that stuff, people who obviously hate Alec Baldwin, because everybody hates Alec Baldwin. Everybody hates him. I mean, I think he's incredibly talented and really funny, and the character of Jack Donaghy from 30 Rock is one of the funniest characters ever on television, but people hate him. He seems like a dick. So that's what this is. He's going to go on trial. He's going to film it. They're going to show him putting up with all of this, the stress, and they're probably going to portray him as, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to me and I feel so bad. They're going to do all that, and then they're going to show him at home with his beautiful wife, Hilarious. That's what I call her. Her name is Hilaria, but she's hilarious. He's going to go home. They're going to show what a great dad he is. He's got like 7 kids under 10. This is all just, he's doing it because he's being forced into a position where he's got to rebrand himself to the general public, because everybody hates, first of all, the MAGA people always hated him because of the Trump stuff, and we get that. And conservatives in general have always hated him because he's been a loudmouth liberal for best 40 years of his career. We get that. But now, like the rank and file, everybody American hates him because of the murder thing. There's just so much junk surrounding him. So he's going to do something that he would absolutely never have agreed to do in past. He's going to allow cameras to come in and film his life. This is a guy who's been arrested for punching paparazzi. I mean, he is not a guy who is, public with his private life, but we're going to see it. He's got hot Hilarious. His wife Hilarious is hot. She's like 30 years younger than him. She's like a yoga master or something. She's got this crazy body. She's always running around in sports bras and yoga pants. It's not a bad life. He wants to go home after a hard day of being put on manslaughter trial. That's not a bad place to go to. She's pretty awesome. Hilarious too. She doesn't know what she is. She might be from another country. She might be from New Jersey. It depends. She chooses her accent every morning when she wakes up. He's got 7 kids. They got 7 kids under 10 years old. That's awesome to visit. You know what I mean? Like, that would be great to be able to just visit that. Like, yeah, man, I'm going to go spend a weekend at my friend's house. He's got 7 kids. They're all under 10. This is going to be crazy. We're going to eat ice cream. We're going to paint shit. We're going to play. See, that's fun for a weekend. You don't want to do it your whole life. He's going to go home. I hope the reality series is just an hour weekly of Alec Baldwin screaming at his children. Like, remember when he screamed at Ireland Baldwin? Do you remember that? Ireland Baldwin is his daughter from Kim Basinger. Ireland Baldwin, I don't know what to make of her. I mean, first of all, let me just say, if there was like an ancient island of female super gods, like the one depicted in the Wonder Woman movies, I think that's where Ireland Baldwin would be from. Have you ever seen Ireland Baldwin? She's the daughter of Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger. So, I mean, if you remember what those people looked like in their 20s, you can imagine what she looks like in her 20s. Yeah, she's gorgeous. She's also like 6'5" and built like a power forward. It is the craziest. She's like the most beautiful thing on the planet that I'm pretty sure could kick my ass. That's his first daughter, Ireland Baldwin. He was going through a divorce with Kim Basinger about 20 years ago. And he left a voicemail message for his daughter, Ireland, that was really ugly. And I'm hoping that the TLC reality series, The Baldwins, which is going to start filming now and should air later this summer, I am hoping that show is just going to be a whole bunch of that. Just him going off on his kids, being really, it won't be. Here's how I know. And this is why we're going to finish talking about it. Because this isn't an outside production company making a real life look at what Alec Baldwin is going through. That's not what this is. This is Alec Baldwin's production company trying to create something that's going to show him as a lovely family man who couldn't possibly have killed that woman on the set of Rust. That's what the series is going to be. But I'll watch it for a little bit. I'll check it out. What else do we have? It looks like, and I don't know that this has been officially announced today, but it looks like it could come out any moment today. The Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight is going to be officially called off. As of right now, as of 1 week ago yesterday, it was Friday, or 1 week ago tomorrow, Friday of last week, it was announced that it was being suspended. It was being put on hold, the fight. It was supposed to air on July 20th, or it was supposed to go off on July 20th here in Dallas at Cowboys Stadium. That was last Friday announced to be on hold because Mike Tyson suffered an ulcer issue and it was going to interrupt his training. And so he needed time to figure out how he's going to do that. So it's been a week of us wondering, well, what's going to happen? When are they going to reschedule it? Well, guess what? They're not. Turns out, looks like Mike Tyson will not be fighting Jake Paul. Want to know why? Want to know why Mike Tyson isn't going to be fighting Jake Paul? Because apparently a dude of his age should not be training and fighting a dude of Jake Paul's age. The kind of thing that, we've all been saying the whole time, which is why I have been saying Jake Paul's going to beat him up. Jake Paul, I know who Mike Tyson was. I watched every Mike Tyson fight, every single one of them. I saw them all. It was perfectly timed for me as a young man who was into boxing, the whole run of Mike Tyson. We used to have high school parties where, Tyson would be fighting and we'd all be in one of the rooms watching around a TV. Never forget the Marvis Frazier fight. We're all excited. This big raging kegger party going on. And we're getting ready to watch Mike Tyson fight Joe Frazier's son. It was over in like 10 seconds. We're like, what? That was the fight where I think we all went, oh, so Mike Tyson is kind of special. This is kind of a different thing. But Mike Tyson is a 60-year-old man and the body breaks down and it doesn't heal from shit. So here's what happened. Mike Tyson went hard trying to train, proving that he, at 60 years old or whatever he is, he could actually get into the ring and fight this young apex athlete, because that's what he is. Jake Paul is young. He's young. He's in incredible shape. He's been training like a maniac for 3 years. His body bounces back to shit in a way that Mike Tyson's just simply won't. So that's what I've been saying the whole time. I'm like, there's no way. And Mike Tyson could die. Well, what do you mean he could die? He's Mike Tyson. Yeah, he's Mike Tyson. He's also 60. You know, the body, the organs, everything, it's not the same as when you're 28. Jesus, if he trips and falls in the ring, he could break his hip. I mean, this is a thing. So I'm not surprised by this, because, of course, he was training like a madman to fight a kid in his 20s. And guess what he did? He screwed up some ongoing ulcer condition that he has because his body is 60 years old. I don't want to see Mike Tyson get beat up by Jake Paul. That's not something I need. My son, my 15-year-old, just absolutely certain that Tyson was going to kill him. Dude, you look at these videos. And he's showing me videos of 21-year-old Mike Tyson. I'm like, yeah, that's 21-year-old Mike Tyson. 21-year-old Mike Tyson would clean the clock of anybody. But it ain't 21-year-old Mike Tyson, kid. It's 57, 58-year-old Mike Tyson. And I'm sorry, but age is undefeated. Age. All right, what else? We got one last thing here. Nah, I guess that's it. I think we're done with show. Oh, no, you know, we can talk about one thing really quickly, because I think it was April, who is our executive producer of this show today. Thank you so much, April. Let's go, Mavs. April dropped the bomb that kept us in this fight. After I realized earlier this morning that I had calculated wrong. So thank you to April. Let's go. Let's go, Mavs. I think it was you, April. I think you brought it up yesterday. And I said that I wasn't going to watch it because I was going to wait. Clipped. We're talking about the new Clipped series on FX. It's also on Hulu. I'm watching it on Hulu. Clipped is the story of Donald Sterling and the Los Angeles Clippers. If you remember from 2014, Donald Sterling was recorded by his mistress saying all kinds of racist rich guy stuff. The kind of stuff rich guys say all the time. And he had to give up the franchise, and that's how Steve Ballmer came in, and now we have a whole different... Anyway, it's the story of Donald Sterling and V. Stiviano, his mistress. Stars Ed O'Neill. Al Bundy is Donald Sterling. I don't know who's playing V. Stiviano. She looks familiar, but I don't think I know her name. Jackie Weaver plays Shelley Sterling, who is Donald Sterling's wife of like 80 years. I mentioned Jackie Weaver. I don't know if we appreciate Jackie Weaver the way we should appreciate her. Jackie Weaver, I'll tell you who Jackie Weaver is, because she's not as big a name here in America, but she is known as the Australian Meryl Streep. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. She is like an icon in Australia for like these heavy dramatic roles that she's been doing forever. She's done a bunch of American films over the years, but she is like an icon in Australia. She's really good as Shelley Sterling. You know who she's great at? And this is where you might know her from. And this is why I love her so much. Because as you know, one of my favorite movies of all time, a movie that I have to watch multiple times a year, just when I get into a weird headspace, I have to put this movie on for a while and just watch it. Silver Linings Playbook. I love that film. Robert De Niro, Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, and Jackie Weaver. Jackie Weaver plays Bradley Cooper's mom. She plays the mom in Silver Linings Playbook. She's awesome. Where you going? She's making homemades. If you know that show, that line means something. If you are unfamiliar with the film, if you're familiar with the film Silver Linings Playbook, the fact that I just mentioned homemades should make you smile. I don't know what homemades are, but they're a treat that whenever shit in that family was going ape shit, when people are spinning out of control due to mental illness, mom would always enter the room and go, "Everybody calm down. I'm making homemades." There's some treat that she makes. I don't know. Jackie Weaver's awesome. So I started watching Clipped last night. I think it was April. Maybe it was April. I'm not sure. Somebody yesterday mentioned, "Are you watching Clipped yet?" And I'm like, no, because it's weekly, and I'm going to wait for there to be like 10 episodes, and then I'll watch all 10 of them. Well, it turns out that there were 2 episodes. Hulu posted the first 2 episodes. So it's 2 hours like a movie. I could justify that. Because there's no way I could justify, I don't know, weeknight watching 3 episodes. But I'm like, there's 2 episodes here. If I watch the first episode and I like it, I can roll into the second episode, no muss, no fuss. And I did. I watched both episodes of Clipped last night. It's really good. It's real good. It's real interesting. It's real interesting. It's very similar to Winning Time. If you liked Winning Time, the HBO series about the Showtime Lakers of the 1990s, hey, you'll like this. It's the same vibe. It's the same kind of thing. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. Some of the players are portrayed in very weird ways that's distracting. Like the dude playing Blake Griffin, he appears to be no more than 6 feet tall, which is troubling. Chris Paul appears to be bigger than Blake Griffin. DeAndre Jordan is like, not the right height either. Anyway, it's good. I'm enjoying Clipped. Of course, I watched the first 2 episodes, and now I'm going to have to wait like 2 months to finish the series. But there you go. First 2 episodes, my review. Clipped is very good. All right. Once again, thank you to April, and thank you to all who have helped us get closer and closer to our goal to stay afloat for another month. Please drop a little something in the tip jar if you can. By the end of the show tomorrow, we need to be across the finish line. I'll let you know where we are tomorrow. Thank you to April for helping out. Thank you to Byron. Byron also, he didn't get the executive producer thing, but thank you so much, Byron. And everybody else, thank you. Have a great night. Go Mavs. I'm very excited. I'm so excited that there's something to watch tonight. There's something big to watch, something to look forward to tonight. And here's the really cool part. It's just game 1. There could be 7 of these. We could have 7 of these nights over the next 2 weeks. I mean, I hope it's over in 5. That's 5 or 6. I don't need game 7s. I don't need that in my life. Ugh. Talking about Mike Tyson and his ulcer. Like, I need to be worried about stuff. All right, love you guys. Appreciate you. Tip the show if you can. That'd be great. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. It is the High Noon Rant. I'm Pugs Moran, and the stream of consciousness is done.